Yeah, so I think this is particularly disgusting. There's been a lot of like there's been memes on people that don't get the vaccine shouldn't be allowed to get healthcare because they're just like a waste of cost in our system. There's a whole bunch of things that my good friends on the left have started to adopt, and I can't even believe that it's like real life. To speak a little bit to the partisanship that we have that is somewhat
Hans
exacerbating
looking
these issues,
huge.
we can look at things like the Facebook whistleblower today that showed that they understand that they are incentivizing partisanship. So the idea of advertising and how it affects our culture is uh is it's overlooked, I think, and people that advocate for some of the censorship and things online are pushing people to like the recesses of
All
the
right.
internet, and then that's where
All right,
these
all right.
ideas start to fester. So it's kind of similar to a conversation I had with Hans yesterday, but I think that our prescriptions politically that we have are making us further and further apart, and that's why things like anti-vax is manifesting and spreading. So yeah, I think a lot of people get swept up into those things, and it's maybe just a fact of proximity, but yeah, I think that these people should be treated with respect. And I don't think mocking somebody's death is a way to do that. I think it's disgusting.
So Gambit, like I don't do this at least, right? But I think you've heard of the concept of triage, right? Where like you have to make the decision like to save X people, and like say like I'm a medic, I'm not, but like there's 3 people like on the ground, they're all injured from like a car accident, and I can save like 2 of them who are moderately injured, or I could save like 1 of them who's like devastatingly injured. I'm gonna probably pick the 2 that I can save, and there's a limited amount of care in that scenario. I absolutely think it's abhorrent. Like for someone to say, oh, you like didn't get vax, so like no healthcare for you. But if I have to, like, if with all other things being equal, and I had to pick between say helping like a gunshot victim that's dying, right, versus say like a person who got like through no fault of their own, versus someone who got COVID, like and they were aggressively like against like getting the vaccine for no discernible reason aside from like the misinformation that exists in our society. I'll probably, if I have to pick one, I'll pick the gunshot person. I don't think they have to make that decision a lot of the time. There's like the like anecdotal stories that are popping up here and there, but in general, I don't think we really have to make those decisions. And I don't like so basic thing for that. I don't know if there's anyone on the panel that like is like of that position, so I'm just making sure we're not arguing against a straw man for like the purpose of the evening.
I think it's fair to say there's a whole bunch of problems.
I feel like you should probably have an equivalent scenario between both of the injuries of the person. Like one, I think that's probably something that I would do in order to make this analogy work the best. But I understand what his opinion is, and I think I agree with it.
Almost turning away people that have quote unquote made bad choices to get there. But I think that when resources become strained, I absolutely think that unvaccinated people should be sent out of the parking lot and figure it out there. They go to Walmart and try to buy some shit or whatever. Because like I think that's a basic. People that are taking like number precautions to keep themselves safe, that end up not being taken into an ER because other people that haven't taken those precautions are hogging all the beds. I think that's pretty disgusting.
I think it is gross, but I mean, it's like I feel like Hans, you made the statement that like you basically said, well, like for no other reason other than that, like they're misinformed and stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's a pretty huge reason.
Nice
like,
meme
we probably
concept.
should try to analyze like what is causing this misinformation. Like,
we can absolutely fix that. Like I completely agree that we combat that. But like if you like again held gun in my head and like ask me the same question like Destiny just said, that we have to pick someone to put in the parking lot. Yeah, the people who are like who made like quote unquote worst decisions, like I'll probably put the person with the worst decisions. And like I don't want to ever have to make that decision. Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm not sure. Like,
you put like morbidly obese people in the parking lot too, right? If you have
Yes.
No.
If you're gonna go with this, if they're morbidly obese and they don't have a health thing.
Everybody else was like yes, and Destiny's like, oh god.
If you're going to subscribe to this theory, then you would then need to subscribe to sending morbidly obese people out to the parking lot because they made bad health decisions.
Or what about drug addict overdose?
I mean, I don't
People
subscribe
with
to
low
this theory.
vitamin D levels, all type of stuff. Yeah.
If we're getting to the point where we have to make these decisions, we have to make these decisions regardless. Like all these people, right? Like this, we're not saying like turn them away, but like if all the hospital beds are filled and everything else like that, and you have to pick people right, that put themselves in this like precarious situation. Those are gonna be the first people I personally would pick and send outside. You're like, oh shit, like stupid. What's
drug
stupid?
addicts?
okay, so
It's like you have to pick. It's not an option.
yeah, do you prefer like a lottery?
Yeah,
That's
privilege.
like you. No, the thing is like there's a lot of
push
like
back?
you are
It felt
obese, not
like he
prepared,
had something
or
to
obese
say.
with propaganda and like sucking in hook, line, and sinker. It's because you didn't have the privilege to have a better life that would make you either more educated or have the right
Him mad.
food source acquisition, etc. It's not necessarily fair to say, oh well, you didn't make the right choices in your life. It's like who are we? Like, are we all like perfect individuals who haven't made bad choices? And should we be sent out in the parking lot because we failed to do our due diligence in every aspect of our lives? I don't think that's necessarily fair. I also want to point out that we live in unprecedented times in terms of targeted media. Like never before in the history of humanity has there been a like system designed to target us with the types of news articles that we want to hear, and it's directly impacting our capacity to make reasonable judgments. So like I don't really want to mock people who are outright anti-vax because they're being exposed to like extremely targeted propaganda. And I think it's like very, very difficult for anyone to actually resist this propaganda. What we should be trying to do is actually try to brainstorm ways of like helping in this regard. And I actually kind of agree with GSU on some level that like if we're mocking them in like a Reddit somewhere, they're going to take this and use that as evidence to further their not so great beliefs.
Destiny, you were going to say something to Dooby about like when you brought up the morbidly obese people.
No, we can't. You can't like have you can't start picking and choosing people based on health stuff because that just goes into nowhere. Like, can't do that. Like,
If you wanted to do it based off vaccination status,
I said that if there was a limitation of resources, then you necessarily need to make those.
But that's what he's
I'm saying you can't just like turn away like obese people unless you literally
he's presenting you the same argument. There's limited resources and there's morbidly obese and non-obese people strung up at the hospital with COVID. Would you preferentially deny access to the
I think
people
you can make an
that are
argument. I think you can make an argument that there's a difference in terms of effort that would you require somebody to exert to deal with like a virus. So like being obese requires an entire lifestyle change. Saddling somebody with that responsibility is different than just getting a vaccine.
Okay, so let's talk about vitamin D deficient people, right? Vitamin D deficiency has been linked.
You're probably not going to be able to find me a single example of something that is as easy as getting vaccinated. When you talk about like
taking a vitamin D supplement is easy, right?
Nothing is as easy as getting vaccinated. Taking
that's not an argument I'm making. I'm not saying that this is as easy. I'm saying this is relatively easy. So why wouldn't you discriminate based off this criteria as well?
Because it's just a way higher burden. First of all, people don't know if they're vitamin D deficient, so they have to go to the hospital to get blood work done. Secondly, they don't know like you have to find medication or not medication to find some supplement. You have to take every single day. Like, that's like a whole other burden. It's just far and away different than just getting vaccinated.
Also, we already make these decisions like right now, like in terms of organ donations. Like so this is probably people who are granting right now, but how like we shouldn't like make these decisions. You have two people, they both need liver, or they're gonna fucking die. One's a 60-year-old person who's like drank their entire life, and that's why their liver has been destroyed. The other one's like a 30-year-old non-drinker. The hospital will probably pick the 30-year-old.
I don't think this is true.
No, at the same time. They put it in at the same fucking time. Who do you pick? Fucking grandstanders on the panel. Who do you select? You fucking flip a coin.
It's about need.
I don't think
They both need it or they will die. It's a basic hypothetical. What do you do?
Listen, it's about need. I served as a combat lifesaver in the army. That was part of my duties in the army. I served as a combat lifesaver. If I was ever to get in a firefight with the enemy, I would treat the patients prior to, like, they would be set up in accordance with need. Even if that means that an enemy combatant needed medical care before any of my friendlies, I would have to treat the enemy combatant first with medical care before I could go treat any of my friendlies according to international laws. But
I'm not gonna lie to you, that shit would suck. That shit would really fucking suck.
What I'm stating is, thank you. What I'm stating is
that would suck as like an individual person. Like I could imagine if you were a soldier or whatever, and you're treating an enemy combatant before your allies. That would probably suck. Because could you imagine if one of your allies, like one of your friends, died because you treated that enemy combatant first? Man, that'd make me super mad. It'd make me super mad. And it's necessary, just to be clear. Like, I understand why it happens. But, damn, I'd be super mad. 22, 30, 2. Yeah, I'm fucking well past that, man.
It's about the need of the care. It's not about external circumstances. It's about the need of the care, and that's how doctors will actually prioritize their patients. Is by need of the care. They don't take anything else into consideration. And when they are faced with these bad circumstances, as to
she's delivered.
Why does it
happen? They have to let one patient.
Well, because you can't just. It's like it has to do with like people being. You can't. I guess the idea is kind of a semblance of fairness. You can't just leave people to like bleed out and die miserably when you could heal them and have them not be like fucking dying. It's kind of like similar to like why we don't use gas. There isn't like technically you're gonna die both ways. It's just one way that you die is literally like fucking miserable, horrible, and gruesome. So it's like outlawed that, as well as like, you know, availability to fucking hurt the average population. And so like you have to heal enemy combatants, make them a prisoner of war or whatever, or what have you, because you don't want to set a precedent of like during a war or a combat that we just let a bunch of people like bleed out on the ground and shit like that and just die a slow, potentially miserable death.
And they have to choose which patient they're going to work on. Otherwise they're both going to die. They have to choose one that's going to live and one's going to die. They prioritize that off of which one would be more lethal. If I ever had to go to
yeah, it won't do to you, won't do to us.
I'm trying to break this down. I apologize.
No, I understand like these concepts of like how the system is functioning. You were providing us hypotheticals where we have to choose where people live or die. Okay, like people who are agreeing with your position. This is open up to Sprout. I'm not trying to bully Sprout on this. But again, to the people who say like, oh, we can't do this, we shouldn't like prioritize. Like you're like freaking out about like pushing like some people to the parking lot. I'm telling you, here's a scenario for everyone who's listening. Bring it back to this.
To the
two people will die without a liver.
Choice?
All right,
No, I don't
100% fatality. You only have one liver.
No.
It cannot be shared between the two of them. They are both unconscious, so we do not know their wishes, only their medical history and their age.
We're not creating a movie scenario for this. Like, this is,
no, I don't know what your choice is. Like, if you just want to flip a coin, tell me you'll flip a coin. Like, I will not flip a coin. I'm asking what you guys will do.
Hans, the whole medical transplant thing, like, there's perfectly good organs that are thrown out. Well, hold on, let me just explain why this hypothetical doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
But you guys are getting mad at us for making
no, okay, let me get to the problem with this hypothetical. The problem with this hypothetical is that there's a huge problem with this hypothetical because there's never gonna be just like a single organ just chilling. Like hospitals literally.
If you're not let somebody else do it.
We don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. All I'm wondering. Shut up a second, please. All I'm wondering, right? So I actually agree with you guys. Right? I'm just wondering how far you guys will take this. So if we have somebody who hasn't gotten their flu vaccine, their yearly flu vaccine, for example, right? And they show up at the hospital. This old lady, limited beds in the hospital. Are you gonna push her out because she hasn't gotten the flu vaccine? She could have gotten that at any time.
Only in the instance. No, this is what everyone's talking about. Only in the instance where we have to triage and choose people to save. So yes, if she has the flu and there's enough beds, I don't give a fuck. Put all the fucking anti-vaxxers in there. The specific scenario, which none of you are like, y'all refusing to engage because you either don't want to answer, you know, looks fucking terrible.
Hey, we've deviated extremely far from the actual topic, so let's get back to the Herman Cain Awards. Let's talk about that for a second, really quickly, right? So, like, do we all agree that it would be?
Wait, why don't we that entire conversation? This is kind of pretty important, right?
No, because it feels like the original topic.
It is important. They don't want to answer. Don't fucking give them away.
The original topic was about the Herman Cain Awards. It sounds like now everybody just shifted into specifically this one specific thing. Like,
it's whether or not it's okay to withhold care from somebody or make choices about.
Right, that's not necessarily related directly to the Herman Cain Award.
It is absolutely directly related. The Herman Cain Award is about making fun of people that didn't make those choices. So
exactly, yeah.
If we resolve the argument of like, should we withhold care or should we not withhold care? If the argument is that we should never withhold care, anybody ever make these decisions, it should just be first come first served, then it seems like making fun of people with the Herman Cain is pretty shitty. Why would we make fun of care. Like,
Yeah.
Whereas we say like, well, we actually can withhold care. Like, we should actually triage. We should make decisions. And it's like, oh well, fuck, we should also laugh from the parking lot. Fuck them. They make shitty decisions. That's why they're there. I think it's
No. The reason why that doesn't actually work is because these two statements are not necessarily synergistic or synonymous. I can absolutely hold the view that one, we should withhold medical care, but also recognize that we probably, in cases of medical expediency, but still recognize that we don't necessarily.
But that doesn't mean shit. Okay, what Fanatic is saying, one part of it is true, but he's totally missing. I fucking hate Fanatic so much. He's such an idiot, man. If we all on that panel agree, if everybody as a human agrees, we shouldn't use triage and prioritize people who we shouldn't prioritize people based on whether or not they got the coronavirus vaccine. Why would we make fun of people who die from coronavirus? If we are unwilling to recognize them as making a mistake and making an error in regards to triage and literally life-saving shit, why would we make fun? That makes no sense. We're showing moral consideration for them and their personal life decisions on a widespread scale nationwide. Why would we make fun? It's like hypocritical. So that's why you would have this conversation. If they all settle on the fact that you shouldn't have triage prioritize vaccine usage or non-vaccine usage, then this conversation's over.
Need to make fun of the people. These things do not necessarily correlate automatically. So then just going down this rabbit hole, we can get down to the very end of it, and then all come to the agreement, hey, we should be able to withhold medical care for medical expediency, but still recognize that these things are that no, we shouldn't be making fun of them. So that you don't have to
let them say that.
Doctors do this every day.
And we can move back to like being nice to people.
Okay, Hans, listen. I was trying to explain, then I got interrupted. Okay,
Please do
doctors.
it
Okay, I'm trying to break it down to simplest terms I possibly can. That way there's no mis.
Let him go. Go ahead, Sprout.
Doctors literally do this every day when they have to choose whether they got two people that need to go on the surgery table. Otherwise, one of them dies. They have to make this choice every day. And what doctors?
I don't think this is true. Is this true? I don't think it's very often that, like, is this true? Hold up. Any medical Andes in chat? I don't think this is true pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, like, I don't think it's every single day. Hospitals are so booked up that it's like, okay, look, you're just gonna die. Like, hey, look, we ain't got enough beds. One of you is gonna die. So we're just gonna pick one of you that isn't gonna die. I don't think this is true. Dancers are constantly flipping coins? Is this true? No? It sounds so fake. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know. Like, if that was true, then wouldn't we expand the capacity? Because every single day, every hospital has patients consistently dying from lack of care? Like, not from, like, lack of care from, like, ability to pay for it or lack of care and ability to, like, get there, but literally you get there and it's like, hey, listen, bro, we only had, like, 3 beds, so get fucked. Just bleed out on the ground. We got a priest coming through who'll give you a sermon, all right, whatever, or whatever the fuck. All right, good luck. We'll contact your next of kin, see the receptionist, and then you just die. You know, like, I don't think this is very common. It's not the bed, it's the organs. Yeah, but I don't think this happens every day, though. Avocado. That's what I mean. Maybe he's being, like, incredibly dramatic in drumming that up, but yeah, I don't know.
Choose is how lethal something might be. Like, if this person needs the table right now, there's a possibility this person can stay behind, and once he's done with the surgery, could possibly get that person. He's going to choose the person that has the greater need. Now, if they're both in the same exact predicament, if they're both need, okay, if they both need the table right fucking now, they go by quality of life afterwards. How young someone is,
just say
the
the
quality of
30-year-old
life afterwards.
Why have you, like, is this all just you can say the 30-year-old? Because, dude, like, yeah, if it's quality of life afterwards, I just said we have a 60-year-old lifelong
very
drinker.
long organ transplant lists? Absolutely. But it's not like everybody on those lists are dying every hour, right? It's not like Tom, Joe, Willie, fucking Timmy are all on this list. And then tomorrow, all of them are dead, and then now you have an entirely new list of Greg, Billy Bob, Frederick, Nina, fucking Elizabeth. It's not like every single day that these people are dying, right? It's that these people need an organ. They need it relatively soon, being probably a couple of months and shit like that. Or what have you. Otherwise, shit might get fucked. It's not like these people are literally the whole list is refreshing like my goddamn fucking I I don't know, my Steam wish list, bro. I'm looking for those game drops.
There's the 30-year-old, healthy, non-drinker. Who do we give the fucking liver to?
I was trying to explain it. I was trying to explain it to you in the
I
simplest terms.
appreciate your
of
thought
building my way
process,
up to it.
but now you can answer it. Like,
The 30-year-old. Quality of life afterwards.
Fucking thank you. So we're not crazy for pushing
even,
like
but
we have
even,
the triage. We're not crazy for making that decision. And then saying that we're insane is off base. Thank you.
But even if it was reversed,
to explain the reasoning underneath it. It's not just simply, oh, well, if you understand the underlying principle, now explain. Now try to apply that same underlying principle that he just gave you to the COVID situation. It's not the same. It doesn't apply. That's why you have to wait for someone to fully answer a question so you get the underlying principle, so then you can see if it actually holds up. Jesus.
Yeah.
I literally already granted all things being equal, with the exception I provided. He just provided all the things that were already accounted for.
The quality of life of the two people post-treatment could be the exact same. It doesn't necessarily mean that both of these people, vaccinated and unvaccinated, will have a different quality of life post-treatment. So that's why your hypothetical doesn't necessarily apply here. That's what Scott was trying to tell you, but you continually interrupt.
So this isn't even true, honestly. So for one, objectively, statistically, I, as a vaccinated person, so let's take me, a 25-year-old NEET, with another 25-year-old NEET, but this other 25-year-old NEET's an alt-right or right-wing or whatever conservative, doesn't believe in the vaccine, right? And they have to treat either one of us for, like, COVID. I, as somebody being pro-vaccine, am going to have a higher quality of life if I'm treated because I'm going to get the vaccine, right? And, or, like, let's say even I have the vaccine or what have you, and I'm one of the very, very, like, small numbers of cases that catches it again, right? Right away or whatever. Maybe it's a prolonged period of time and there wasn't a booster, whatever scenario we want to run with. I'm going to have a significantly higher immunization level. Like, I'm going to have way more resistance to COVID again in the future than that other patient is going to. So even this isn't equivalent. Like with the recent data that implies that there might be a 2x bulking over the vaccine if I've had corona already. Showing that, yeah, like, I'm going to be significantly more resistant to corona in comparison to the other individuals. So even this doesn't hold up.
And won't allow him to answer the question.
Quality of life is different, and quality of life is different for the 30-year-old versus the 6-year-old. I understand that.
But that's not necessarily
how does this apply to
conversation.
How does this apply to COVID? Explain to me how your hypothetical.
This applied to COVID because, again,
is Google transplant waiting for the United States and it's over 100K people? That's a lot more people than I thought there would have been. That's for fucking sure. The middle top row guy looks like Ahrelevant. He looks like me back when I had square glasses and I had a little bit more like beard hair. Yeah, definitely. But the doctor doesn't know that when they're choosing who to save. Well, I mean, if I have had the vaccine, they can tell that. And that's what the whole premise of it is based on, right? Is the knowledge of whether or not there's a vaccine. Because if the doctor doesn't know whether or not the person has a vaccine, this is only a ethical dispute. I mean, they could look at your medical records. They're not going to ask both the unvaxxed people who will get vaxxed after. Yeah, right, the vaxxed after shit, of course. But, like, the vaxxed prior shit absolutely would be the case, no? Like, me, if I recover from corona, I mean, either way, like, I have... if I get vaxxed before, though, you would probably, like, I don't know, the effects of corona, I believe, are lessened on the people who have vaccines, so I don't know. Not too sure that would hold up.
They all fucking said that if we have to pick...
the new Chappelle special, I hate comedy. My girlfriend watched it, said it was soft as hell.
We have to triage. We have to send someone out into the fucking parking lot. We'll pick the people who are the anti-vaxxers, who refuse to get the vaccine.
No.
Okay,
Go ahead. You're missing it.
How is this hard to understand?
I'll explain why it's so hard to understand, because you're the one not understanding it. It's really simple. He gave a specific principle about quality of life afterwards. So now you just really restate. All you did right now was just restate your original position that we would give it to the unvaccinated. We would put the unvaccinated out to the thing. Now you have to be able to make the argument that the unvaccinated person will have a lower quality of life after their treatment, and you can't make that argument. So that means you're not engaging with his actual principle, with the actual principle that he expressed. All you're doing is just listening to it and then restating your original thing, in which everybody here is trying to explain to you these things don't apply. It's not immediately applicable that an unvaccinated person inside of a hospital is necessarily going to have a lower quality of life after you treat them. That point does not apply.
So cool. So
You gotta
I
really need to
so
I
I'm
will
engaging.
say-
Here's the engagement. No, one fucking second, Matt. I'll respond to you in just a second, buddy. So I can completely understand that how these hypotheticals work is that all other things being equal, there's one decision, whether it's say the quality of life of the 60 versus the 30-year-old, or getting the vax versus not getting the vax, that we make the decision on. I'm sorry that the hypotheticals weren't directly analogous. I thought we were all adults and could understand that yes, with one critical difference, we have to make a decision.
Really? You're still
Out of! I literally just explained it to you.
Okay, look, Fernando actually like nailed it on the head. Except like
Okay,
this one
wait. Yeah, can I give you an example?
Destiny, go on.
Okay, wait, Hans, this is what you're missing, okay? Or this is the example he's trying to set up, okay? It sounded like in the beginning we wanted to make a comparison to people that are getting livers, right? But the thing is that when we make a comparison to people getting livers, we're only looking at quality of life post-transplant. So the better, if these guys would stop fucking screaming and think of a good example. So here's the question. Let's say that you have a 70-year-old that's like kind of not in the healthiest condition. Let's say he got vaccinated, all right? And he's in the hospital. Then let's say that you bring in like a 24-year-old. He didn't get vaccinated, but he has to go to the hospital. Even though it's more likely that the 24-year-old is going to have way more longevity ahead of him, he didn't get vaccinated. Are you going to prioritize treating the 70-year-old over the 24-year-old? That's the question.
Got it. In that specific case, we would do what you said about comparing, like, say, how easy it is for, like, say, deal with obesity versus getting vaccinated. And so if we can like pinpoint like these
deep in Twitch
so I'm
politics,
explaining
which is
that there are like, a
comedic
collage of factors
place
that
on
easy
the
to deal with.
internet.
Gambit. So I know. So here's the question, right? So we have a list of things, and we have to take them into account when we do the triage. If we can say, hey, like someone was like super obese, someone was like say like vitamin D deficient.
Can I ask you a simple question? This is a simple question.
I'm ready.
This is a simple question. The simple question is,
there's
I'm gonna give it. Destiny tried his best. I'm gonna try to. Okay. The simple thing that he was giving you is, when you're saying that you would always prioritize the vaccinated person, he's giving you a situation where the quality of life of the vaccinated person post-treatment could be worse than the 24-year-old who typically is going to recover faster.
Yeah,
he's asking.
I'm comparing quality of life versus who got vaxxed. That's literally the question. I don't need you to explain it to me. Thank you. And I'm literally telling you right now.
So why are you bringing up obesity?
I feel like this is so dishonest from the people that disagree with the triage take. It was premised at the beginning, and it's been prefaced throughout the entire time, right? And even Hans agreed that with the example that Destiny gave, dude, like, just as two equivalent individuals, two 25-year-olds, one's a NEET, or both are NEETs, right? One of them, got vaccinated, the other one didn't. Which one do you prioritize for like care? Right? That's it. Just answer that fucking question, and why?
It was just like an explanation. Is like multiple factors talking about quality of life as opposed to
Talk about
getting
the
shot. Cool. So then we have two. Okay, I'm breaking this hypothetical down because it's super simple. Ready? We have quality of life afterwards because they both survive because they get health care like inside the ICU. The 24-year-old's probably gonna have a better life. The second like part of this hypothetical is that one of them made the very simple and easy decision to get vaccinated to protect themselves and the people around them. So I have to weigh these two things: quality of life versus the good decision. And in this case, I would pick the good decision. I'm fine biting that bullet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Years to answer that question.
Wait, hold on one second. It just seems like
so fast. I did it like as quick as possible.
Okay, so if you would pick the 74-year-old who got vaccinated over the 24-year-old who also needs a hospital bed, it seems like you're more concerned with punishing the people who didn't.
Wait, is he? I don't think he agreed to that, did he?
Vaccinated than the actual like health outcomes long term of these people.
Yes.
Is that the case?
No.
Then why would you pick the 74-year-old rather than?
It's not a matter of punishing somebody. So the problem is that sometimes when we go to make policy decisions, there's not a good answer. Like somebody is going to suffer, right? So the issue is, while you're saying, oh well, you're punishing the 24-year-old, you just wanted to die just because he made that choice.
Did, I believe
you could also flip around and say like, oh wow, you're punishing the 70-year-old.
So when Destiny gave the argument, he said he'd go with the 24-year-old.
This guy did everything correct, but now he's fucked because a younger person was irresponsible, and he decided not to do it. Somebody's going to get quote unquote punished. Somebody's going to get fucked over.
Well, yeah, that might be true, but I think the thing is that what Mrfanatiq is provided for us, which I think is a really great thing. I didn't know that was a policy, but it sounds very, very reasonable and sensible to me.
Exactly.
The idea would be that, like, yes, you would be judging these things. There's a barometer of health outcomes that sounds like a reasonable thing.
Wait, hold on. To be clear, that's not the question. Wait, that's not the question that we're asking right now. We're not asking.
It is.
No, hold on. The question on this panel is not what are the current medical policies on the book. We don't need a panel to discuss it. We can all Google the answer for that.
No.
The question is,
I'm not saying that that's the question. The fact of the matter is, he provided us with a sensible policy that sounds reasonable, and because the reason why it sounds sensible and reasonable, then that means it implies that it relates, it makes sense to our own personal ideas of what should be done. So now applying this new thing that he provided to us, which sounds reasonable and sensible, now we're considering it as well. Like, okay, good. So using this newfound thing that I guess most of us probably weren't aware of, I definitely wasn't. Now let's apply that. And do you think it's worth chucking that out the window to punish a guy for making a bad decision? Because that's what Hans is doing.
So when you phrase it like that, that's like asking
guy who's made the good decision.
When you phrase it like that, it's saying, why do you think it's okay to murder a baby in a mother's womb? Right? The answer is never. So stop. Don't fucking monologue for 20 fucking minutes. Holy shit.
I've been listening to everybody in this panel. I've been monologue. Be quiet.
When you phrase things like, oh, you're punishing this guy, you're gonna punish that guy. Well, obviously nobody wants to punish anybody. But the reality of the situation is you're always going to be punishing someone. So don't phrase it like that. Why are you punishing? It's not about punishing. It's about making.
Why are you punishing the old man?
They are not equally the same thing. In this case, you are directly punishing. You're saying this is the behavior and this is the action I'm taking in order because of this behavior.
Someone's going to die for that.
I'm doing this specifically because of this behavior. That is a punishment. If you're saying if you're saying stop interjecting. If you're saying this is an adverse reaction specifically because of an action that you took,
Jesus
so this is what a reaction is
Christ.
for. If this is a reaction specifically to bad behavior, then by definition it is a punishment. In the other case, it's not a matter of punishment. It's a matter of just the merit of the decision, that quality of.
What? Why are you punishing this? You see, it's only a punishment when you don't agree with my political narrative. It's only a punishment when you choose to make the 30-year-old die. It's not a punishment when you let that 70-year-old old man die. Like, what the fuck? Dude, what? That's so stupid. What a dumb way of saying. Dude, Jesus. That's why I fucking hate this man, dude. He's such a fucking idiot.
Life matters, and that's what we're doing. That's why one is a punishment and the other one is not. You're not punishing necessarily. Punishment has a definition, and we understand that the other one would not be a punishment at all.
Yes, it is.
It's like a 2-year-old's understanding of like
problem
punishment. I don't know how to engage with
is that
Oh my
the
God.
vaccine,
Don't
so the
tell me
vaccine
it's
impact.
it's punishment by definition.
So,
No, fuck that shit. I've been waiting. I've been waiting in line for
Matt,
so
let me
fucking long to
jump in
comment on this because what Sprout said from the beginning is wrong with the way they do it.
My question, right? So this is okay. Then I'll ignore Fanatic. We'll talk to Gambit. Gambit, like you seem reasonable. So do you understand that we could say that using Fanatic's definition of punishment, that if we take an old man who's done everything right, he's masked up, he's vaxxed up, he like did all the lock-in stuff, and he got sick going to the fucking grocery store, he did everything right, should we punish this guy because some young motherfucker wanted to go to like Virginia Beach or like Calhoun or whatever, like for like spring break, unvaxxed, unprotected? Like, are we punishing the old person? Again, Destiny said this already, but one person's gonna fucking die. If you want to say we're punishing one of the two, like as like intrinsic to the death, does it like?
Really quick,
someone's getting punished.
Hold on. We're getting lost behind some stupid sauce when I know everybody's vocabulary. Destiny vocabulary is not this stupid. So let me just go ahead and make sure we understand this really quick.
Jesus
Punishment
Christ.
is inflict a penalty or sanction on someone.
Holy shit. Kick him out of the call, dude. Kick him out of the call. Kick him out.
Retribution for an offense. So there has to be an initial offense in order for you to say something is a punishment. So
Yeah, your offense was not getting vaxxed, bitch.
in this case, we are saying the offense was your decision not to get vaccinated, and as recompense for that, we are inflicting a penalty, which is to deny you health care. That is not a 2-year-old's understanding of a punishment. That's just what the word punishment means. So
in this case, the old man's offense is being 70 years old, and you're punishing him because he's old. I don't know why this literal 2-year-old, this guy should have a word of the state.
this case directly related
Old man's
to the
offense is
offense,
being old.
You
went too long, motherfucker. Time to get punished.
Directly related to the actions of the original individual. We are making a decision to deny you health care. In the other case, with the old man, we are not doing it by any decision he's making. We're not intentionally punishing him. We're not inflicting a
you don't
penalty.
need to retake
It's
the same
literally
point
just
50 times. Holy shit. Okay.
No, I didn't explain both sides because you missed it.
You're not explaining both sides. You do this thing where you give an example, and then you give an example, and then you say, and then you give another example, and then you have to say that there's even another example, and then you gotta give another example, and then this is something that's not an example. Like, Jesus, just calm the fuck down. Holy shit.
Interact with it the first time, and I won't have to do
Jesus
that.
Christ. Okay, so you
What's
understand.
the topic? They're just initiated whether or not it's okay to fucking prioritize somebody who's vaccinated over somebody who's unvaccinated.
And that if 2 people show up at the hospital, okay, one is 70, one is
Also, I don't know.
30. 70-year-old's vaxxed. 30-year-old is not vaxxed. You have to punish one of these people. One of these people will be turned away. Do you understand that?
So that's why I always repeat it. This is why you were so quick
One
to jump
person's
in.
crime is being old.
You were so quick.
You
You were so quick. I started speaking first.
Let him finish.
You were
Let him
so
finish
quick
this.
to- You were so quick to jump in when you completely missed what I said. Actually listen this time, and I'll say it
Give
quietly.
him all the flashbacks.
That might get you listening a bit more. Okay? Really simple. Okay?
Take your time.
A punishment.
Actually, please don't.
A punishment. Shut up, Hans. A punishment is a direct response to an action, right? I'm sorry, I'll read it one more time just to make sure we're clear here. It needs to be retribution for
Yeah,
an
but can you
offense.
come in and do interpretation?
It needs to be retribution for an offense. So in this case, when we are punishing the vaccination guy, it is retribution for him refusing to get vaccinated. When it's the case with the old guy and just the 30-year-old guy, we're not punishing any offense. The old guy didn't do anything offensive. So
You're punishing him for being old. This is a stupid way of looking at it, right? This is like saying, well, technically, white people never punished black people for anything. Like, you know when you go on over to the court and, you know, you're discriminated against for being black, white people are not punishing black people for anything because black people didn't do anything. They just happen to be black. They are black. They didn't do anything. They're not being punished. Wait, white people are not punishing black people. There's no punishing going on. They just happen to be black. And they happen to hate black people. Wait, they didn't make any decisions. I read dictionary. I'm very smart. Somebody get this guy out of this chat room. Somebody get him out of this chat room. Get him out. Get him out of the chat room.
this isn't a punishment. It is just us applying a basic merit to the idea of quality of life afterwards. In order for there to be an actual punishment, there needs to be a direct
Like, this guy has never heard of discrimination once in his life. Unreal. Get him out.
Now I am saying it twice to make sure we're clear.
Okay, we don't need to. We're not talking about.
Okay,
We're not talking about doing a punishment. We're talking about triage.
No, you said punish though.
You said punish.
That's what he
Please don't try to change
said.
that now.
I'm not. Hold on.
He got upset because you said the word punish. You got to punish one.
I don't remember when the fuck I said the word punish. But that's not.
I promise you did.
He did.
You said
He
punish.
did.
Good job. Go clip it and post it somewhere. I don't give a fuck. Okay. The reality is that if two people show up to a hospital and there's one bed available, do you acknowledge
sorry.
that?
What he means when he's saying punish is sorry. Okay, I understand what Destiny is saying now. I think what Destiny is saying is that Destiny's point wasn't to punish somebody, but if we're going to use the word punish, because Destiny's whole point was you're stupid for using the word punish, and so what he means is we didn't use punish, or I didn't use the word punish in reference to, like, in contrast to everybody else using the word punish, I think is maybe what he means.
One of these people is going to be turned down or punished.
Yes. Turned down.
Wait, hold on. One person's going to be turned down, but not punished.
Say yes.
Wait, no. Hold on. I'm not qualifying it. He said turned down or punished. Punished is the thing at the center of this conversation. My entire argument has been it is not a punishment. So when you try to lock in punishment like that in some form of Mott and Bailey, then I have to respond to the fact that you use the word punish again.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Hold on. Sorry. I'm not trying to deny anything. Okay. You're just like in fucking like massive big dick debate mode, and you're trying really fucking hard to score points. I'm just trying to get to the center.
Scoring points. Stop doing
Okay. The last 5 minutes of you talking has been a waste of everybody's time on this panel. Okay. We haven't got anyone in this conversation because you're trying to big dick your way through the conversation. I'm just trying to forward the conversation. Okay. All I'm saying is that if two people show up to a hospital, okay, you're gonna have to make a choice of who goes in. Somebody's not gonna get in, okay? Now, without all the screaming, okay, my understanding is that you just object to the word punishment here. You don't let in the 70-year-old, but you do object to the word punishment if you do let in, like, the 24-year-old, or if you don't let in the 24-year-old, right? Because you're saying that you're not letting the 24-year-old in because of an action, but we wouldn't let the 70-year-old in because of, like, policy that's already on the books. Is that what you're trying to say?
Okay, it's basically what I'm saying is there's a basic principle that Mrfanatiq applied that we all agreed to, and it sounds like we are penalizing the other guy and deviating from the principle in order to punish the bad behavior of the person not getting vaccinated.
Yes, okay,
so
you're saying what I said.
Right, so I have a problem with that. I have a problem with punishing a person.
So okay, that's great, okay? So now my issue is that wouldn't the old person feel like they're being punished?
They wouldn't feel like they're being punished. It would feel. I can't tell. I don't care about how they would feel. It would not be. They would not be being punished. So if they felt like they were being punished, they'd be feeling that in error. Because ultimately, if we have a system that is designed around a specific form of merit, and we're applying that merit towards everything, then at that point, it's not. No one's being punished. So if they feel that way, they're feeling that way in error. And I can't be bothered with your feelings when we have a system in play that's accurately being employed here.
So can I ask just a quick question to maybe boil down like what we're talking about? So in any other situation, not any, in most other situations, if you had to weigh the consequences of putting a
for Fanatic to call it punishment, a specific offense has to have been made by the person. Therefore, the 74-year-old isn't. This shit isn't. This shit ruined the whole fucking segment. I agree. But I also disagree with this usage of the word punishment. At least in the colloquial sense. He literally like looked it up in the dictionary and is trying to apply it here when that's not how people use the word punishment. And it's explicitly not the implications of the word punishment. For instance, I think nobody would object to this statement. You are punished for being black in America. Even right now, you are punished for being black in America over the course of the last 300 years. Would anybody disagree with that statement? I don't think anybody, besides people that don't believe racism has existed, I don't think anybody would disagree with that statement. But being black isn't a choice. You don't choose to be black. There's no choice in that whatsoever. But you are punished for that. So, like, I don't know. He's just really being a fucking moron.
25-year-old out in the parking lot versus a 70-something-year-old. Right?
To varying degrees, of course, yeah, obviously. We're
expectancy.
not punished as much in fucking 2021 as, black people were in fucking the 1760s. Or 1780s, I should say, or some shit.
I think below 80. So this person's toward the end of their life anyway. I think most of us would agree that you'd probably put the older person out in the parking lot, right? And treat the younger person because, there's a greater chance for long-term quality of life and yada. Right? So I'm wondering, so Hans is saying in this situation, no, he'd treat the 70-something-year-old person and not the 30-year-old or whatever. And it seems like the only reason he's choosing not to do that is because the old person chose to get the vaccine. Right? This person's at the end of their life anyway, right? Whether or not they have this vaccination. The younger person, long-term, they're going to be around a lot, probably going to be around more. So why would not choosing this person, where you physically choose them in any other situation, it just seems like a consequence of not getting the vaccine.
Wait.
And if that's what it is,
hold 1 second. We currently do this in our system. Alcoholics are lower priority for liver transplants. Like we already take behavior.
Hold on, wait. Stop. Hold on. Don't go down this road. Okay. We don't take into account behavior. You take into account the quality of life after. An alcoholic won't be treated differently because they're an alcoholic. They're treated differently because they might have other complications that would make it so that if an organ was given to them, then it might be wasted.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Hey, they don't say, "Oh, that guy's alcoholic." Nah, that's not true.
New Salsa has not gotten a chance to talk.
I just want to make clarification. So Sprout is correct, not during COVID times, right? So on a first come first served basis and everything, they're going to pick who needs it more, blah 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 blah. But I've been reading articles during this entire time trying to find something that supports Sprout. I could not, right? Where it basically says where now they're just having save more lives. They acknowledge, right? Ethically, this is
Noose also sounds like he belongs on a radio talk show.
This is a little bit weird as it favors young people, right? And it throws older people to the curb. But they realize they have to save more lives, and this is unique, and that a lot of hospitals are going through. There's no governing body that says like you have to do it like this or you have to pick and choose like that. But like that is they're distinctly doing it.
Wait. I was added. Give me 1 second. So the ethics doesn't change because it's a pandemic. I'm just gonna let you know that ethics don't change because it's a pandemic.
I'm taking that from you versus like the stuff that I was reading, but I don't get it.
Okay, well I'll give you a link. I'll give you a link. It's literally describing the AMA Journal of Ethics, which is what medicine uses. So you can find that in the group Discord for the Reverie. But ethics doesn't change just because it's a pandemic. Now, what does change is there's people constantly coming, right? So if the 7 got the bed and a 24-year-old comes in, there's no beds. They're not gonna be like, oh, hey, yeah, 7-year-old, hop on up off that bed. A 24-year-old needs it. Okay, that's not gonna happen. So that's why it's deemed to become different for COVID. Ethics does not change because of a pandemic, and I don't know why anyone would suggest that ethics does change because of a pandemic.
Yeah, and Noose also,
I'll link.
But even more, Noose also, if your goal was to save more lives, you'd have to consider quality of life after care, which would still go back to his principle, and it wouldn't be a refutation of anything that he said. So everything that you said is just nonsensical, almost.
Bullshit.
So Hans,
Like no, like it's no when it comes.
If you preferentially treated people with worse conditions after care, you're stupid. This makes no sense.
You can acknowledge, right?
Oh,
you can
God.
acknowledge.
No,
No,
you said a dumb thing and we can move on.
No, what the fuck? I'm telling you what the fuck I've been reading about this thing. It's like I'm gonna link it. Like, you're going out with Sprout. You're going with everything that he was saying, right?
I actually looked up stuff too. I'm not going
No,
on.
so share with me what the fuck you got, and I'll share with you what the fuck I got, and we have countering things. That's it.
it's extremely wholesome. It's beautiful.
That was actually a
Sharing
beautiful
now,
moment.
sort
And
of yelling
it
at
does
each other.
and it does go off need prior to quality of life afterwards. If someone needs it more, they will go off of need prior to quality of life. Quality of life is literally the last deciding factor. So yes, if someone needs it more, then yes, they're going to get a bed than someone else. Like, yes, need does come before quality of life.
Maybe the old person needs the bed more. The healthy young person has a better shot
Matt
in
Lad,
the parking lot.
Matt Lad.
Well, technically, Hans, they don't have a better shot because they didn't get vaccinated, right?
I don't know.
It's a good joke. All right, whatever. So the only thing I really wanted to say
Okay.
was that we can actually use the vaccine directly as a way of determining not just quality of life, but like who's in more dire need, right? So like the 70-year-old person who's been vaccinated will likely have a less severe life-threatening case of COVID versus the unvaxxed person who is more likely to have a severe case of COVID that will require intubation, right? Now, age does impact this as well, obviously, and there's a bunch of factors, but like we can literally use the vaccine as just one of those factors. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks for having a 40-minute argument about punishment instead.
I mean, like thank Prime, like fucking banger content for him. You're welcome. Like,
Wait, so Hans, can you just answer the question that I asked earlier?
sorry, could you answer again? Or ask again?
Sure. So basically, you were saying that you would choose
By
the
the way,
70-something-year-old.
this is all why I fucking hate panels. I like watching certain segments of panels. I fucking hate being on them because I want to ask one series of questions that gets to the heart of the disagreement, and then you have somebody like Fnatic that derails it for 25 minutes. And it's like, why am I here? Why am I here? At this point, I might as well be a Twitch chatter just yelling into the ether, hoping to get the streamer's attention. Like, why am I here, man?
In the situation because they make the decision to get the vaccine, whereas a 20-something-year-old did not, and so we're going to prioritize a person who made the right decision.
Just to suffer.
But it seems like,
Cringe.
I can't think of any other situation where we would prioritize the care of a 70-something-year-old over like a 20-something-year-old if they're in like similar like dire health circumstances.
Like if they're both gonna die, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
So you choosing to give the bet to the person who made the right decision. I mean, it seems like you are penalizing the younger person because in any other situation, the older person wouldn't get the bet because they're at the end of their life anyway. This is kind of getting back to
we're penalizing the old person then. Like, okay, I refuse to accept.
Wait a second.
If we're using penalties.
Wait.
Okay.
This
Wait. As I go.
kind of gets back to
Let's hear it.
fuck, what was it? Death panels. There was this meme, move out of the way, grandma. You're costing us millions of dollars to keep you alive. Yeah, sorry, grandma, it's time to go. I mean, if that's, I think most people, when that topic came up, so yeah, at some point, it does make sense to say, hey, we can't spend millions of dollars to keep this person alive, to extend their life. It might make more sense to put those resources toward younger people for preventative care. Right? So if that's all you're saying, then I agree with you. But it just seems like in this specific situation, you're saying that because this young person that didn't get the vaccine, they're lower on the totem pole morally to you somehow, and therefore you're going to put them out in the parking lot.
Yeah, Hans,
Really quickly, can you tell me when you say that we're penalizing the old guy, what are we penalizing the old guy for? What did he do that we're penalizing him for?
He did
So the
everything
guy is
right, and
getting
we
sick
told-
in a society, and it seems like that there would ordinarily be resources available to him, but those resources are being consumed by people that were less responsible than he.
Okay.
That's what the punishment seems.
And so at this point, you would say I'm sorry. You guys both spoke at the same time. Would you say the beginning of what you said again one more time?
So the problem is that he has the expectation that if he gets sick in a society, somebody will be there to take care of him. But now he's being deprived of those resources because people that were less responsible are now are consuming them.
Okay, you just laid out for me the circumstances. I'm asking you, what are we penalizing him for? That's not a direct answer to my question.
I'm not going to play the dictionary game with you like you're.
It's not a dictionary game. I asked you. Okay, fine. If you're not
Where's the yelling?
Hans,
He's already mad.
Hans, I originally asked you the question really quickly.
I would say being old.
The guy was being
Just say it, being
What are we
old,
penalizing
and then
him for?
make the black people example.
For being old and sick at the wrong time.
No, he's
No,
got like the
I got you,
dictionary
I got you.
definition.
No,
He's
no,
like,
no,
oh,
it's
in order to
fine.
penalize
Okay,
someone,
that's
they have to do something
cool.
exclusively
I know,
wrong.
I do
and
have the
he's gonna
dictionary
harp on the
definition.
dictionary
I love when
definition.
people. I love the idea when people.
Just talk about the black people shit. Please, Hans. Please, Lord Almighty, let me conjure my energy and go back in time. Please bring up the black people example. Use black people as a weapon.
Want to just create arbitrary definitions that like completely deviate and then try to hammer a person on our definition and use it improperly like Destiny's doing now. But anyway, so
Weaponize
because he got old. Now,
do it!
Something,
You're a leftist. It's your destiny. I should have said fate because Destiny's on the panel. It's kind of weird.
That would we ordinarily do it that way? Is that a penalty, or is that just the system as it is already laid out? Is that the already accepted system, or is this a direct penalty for an action by the individual old man?
For an example of how we use the word punish,
Hand out the question.
for an example of how we use the word punishment, there's literally no point in engagement. So like when somebody works for a company their whole life and then that company ends up going bankrupt and they don't have a pension, somebody might utter the phrase, "Why did I get punished for this? Like I feel like I did everything right." People will say phrases like that sometimes.
Sure.
Like,
I don't know one would use the word that way, but I guess okay. So you're arguing that people are using the word incorrectly. So that's fine. But we're not
the specific way that I want the word to work.
So I would need Fanatic to move on.
right now.
This is like unironically, I can't believe that somebody's trying to throw the dictionary around in a conversation like this. Like
it's not about throwing the dictionary around. We're using the word punish.
No,
Okay, all right,
this isn't about anybody.
Can we just talk about the problem?
Ruby had a cool question. I wanted to answer Dooby's question.
Let's get rid of the word punish. Let's get rid of the word punish. Why would we penalize?
am giving you
That was
the
fucking
facts.
What are we penalizing the old guys?
Just quickly answer that, but also we're gonna have a hype train. How about the hype train? Tier 1 hype train. I level 1 hype train. We got 2 minutes left. Up that up.
Okay,
that's how I provide all this content.
Everyone get Prime
Hey,
Night.
hold up. Just PSA. Everybody, do not link the leak of all of the streamers' like incomes and shit. Don't link that in here. Don't leak that in here. I do not want that linked. I do not know if it's TOS to spread that kind of information. I am purging all links associated with that. Do not do it, okay? I don't know if it's TOS. This is a PSA because there's multiple times that I've had people try and link it. So, yeah.
You never see shit like this anywhere else. You're
It's
welcome.
not actually
Give him fucking
leaked
money.
info. I don't. Just don't.
The answer is we're penalizing him for being an old fuck. Okay, that's literally it. But so Hans, so I think I know what you're gonna say, right? You're gonna say that yeah, because this person made the right decisions, they're responsible, yada yada yada, right? Then they should get the bet, right? Whereas the person who was irresponsible, didn't take care of themselves for
So
whatever
leak
fucking
is real.
reasons,
I have no
you know,
fucking
they're
clue.
not prioritized. But the reason I'm asking this question is I'm wondering how far you take. Because I actually agree with you, right? But I'm wondering how far you take it. So if we have a person who's like morbidly obese, or they didn't get the flu vaccine, now they're dying of the flu, or you know they're a drug addict, you know they're overdosing, and they're like 30 years old, but hey, there's a 74-year-old who didn't do drugs, and you know like does the 74-year-old still get the bed? Like in what other situations do irresponsible people also get put out in the parking lot?
Okay, so I can give you a solid yes that I am comfortable.
Why do you think it could be
triaging for the old-
TOS? Is because I know Twitch doesn't like their information being thrown around, private information being thrown around, and I know they can do whatever the fuck they want. So, yeah.
person in the case of like the vaccine, specifically because that decision is extremely easy. And like we were talking about like obesity, right? We already like ran through this like earlier today. Like fixing some problems is like an entire lifestyle change. It's extremely difficult. A vaccine is like as easy as like they're literally paying people to do it right now. Where it's like you go in like for 15 minutes, they give you money like in some like places, and you get the shot, and then you go home and you feel shitty for it like a day. And like that. Okay. So I would say that's like a different standard than say, oh, this person was morbidly again. If we have to make those decisions, I think that would fall under what Sprout talked about with the quality of life thing, right? I would say in this specific instance that it's so simple to do that. In the same question, like if I could ask like you, right? What if we could only save in this specific instance, say a 70-year-old man who got in an accident because of a drunk driver versus the 24-year-old drunk driver, and there's only one bet. Who do you save?
I'd probably say the drunk driver, to be honest with you.
I'd say the 70-year-old man. I'd say
wait, hold on, one second.
Punishment for the guy like drunk driving.
Right, so 1 second. So
Wait, I wanna
wait. Just please, really quick.
He answered it.
No, he didn't. It's not done. Okay, there's more. There's more to come. Okay, hold on.
Okay, wait. So I can answer.
So wait,
I can answer this very,
Okay,
very, very easily, right? So I think every person here would be comfortable saying that we can bite the bullet and say that if everything else is accounted for,
is sweating
like all these
straight
problems,
through that
at some point,
shirt.
if you got to do a triage, then you like, and if like bad decisions are like the thing that's like being like the deciding factor, like right, we've done quality of life, like analysis, we've done like everything else, and we have to pick. I feel like everyone would say, yeah, like at some point, if that's like the deciding factor, it's again like if that does happen, I've like failed to see it, but I think I'd be comfortable biting that bullet.
Yeah. So Hans,
I just like
you said it. We get you.
Okay,
No, wait, again, I just think to expand on one thing really quick. Because typically the reason people don't get the COVID vaccine isn't because they're lazy, right? It's typically because they've I mean, at least so far as I know, they've fallen victim to misinformation, right? They have some kind of like wariness about the vaccine for some reason. It's not just because they're lazy fucks usually, right? They have some kind of hang up. Right? They're poorly educated, misinformed. So it's if what you're saying is basically that we would take it's not so simple as a bad decision because from their
Sometimes it
perspective, they've got
happens,
some kind of
strange
hang up
one.
about the vaccine, right? So it seems like we're punishing people for falling victim to misinformation. And maybe you don't want to call it punish, right? We're giving them a consequence of some kind. We're not prioritizing them because they've fallen victim to misinformation that's everywhere.
What's the definition of consequence? I don't want that.
Please don't do it.
That was a joke. I'm sorry.
So they're not being prioritized because they're poorly educated, probably because they've fallen victim to misinformation, right? So, if you're comfortable with saying that's okay, I mean, I'm comfortable with saying that. But I was just wondering how far you would take it.
So,
yeah, again, like all other things being equal, if we've done the calculus and say like this is like again we got to save one of the people, right? Yeah, I'll make that decision. Yeah, of course. Because the other solution is like do nothing, right? So we have to pick one of them. So yeah,
okay.
I would just say that like in virtually every scenario, like otherwise like in the case of obesity, in the case of like other stuff, there are other like life events that I'd say are more than just like disinformation. Because like in America, there's a lot of like disinfo, right? But there's also an overwhelming amount of evidence that the vaccines are safe, they're effective, they're like very like readily available for like virtually everyone in the United States. If that is not the case, I would know. I would if someone like was saying like this is
dude, it's fucking everywhere. All of this shit to like information. You don't even have to ask. Some of these people just give you information on the vaccine, man. Like it's fucking everywhere.
If this was the beginning of the pandemic, right? I wouldn't hold an unvaxxed person like accountable in the same like in the same way like for the triage system. So yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah. So question, because I'm trying to understand if you're just saying a whole bunch of bullshit and your job really is to punish, right? So that's what I'm trying to suss out. So what if you knew the quality of, because you just tried to equalize the quality of life when you answer them. So I want to ask you a deeper question. What if you knew the quality of life of the person that's 70 and vaccinated was going to be terrible or short? So you're trying to, your argument with Sprout is that you're putting the behavior over quality of life somewhat, right? Like that's your fundamental argument. So I'm asking you, what if you knew the quality of life of the 70-year-old was compromised solely because it was a breakthrough case and they're old and blah, blah, blah. What if you knew that their life was going to be terrible or they were going to die maybe shortly thereafter versus you knew if you gave care to the 24-year-old, they would recover and live a full life? Would that change, would the quality of life change your prescription at all? Or is there no limit? You don't care if he was going to die the next day after you gave him treatment. That still doesn't matter. He made the decision to get vaxxed. So we're going to let the 24-year-old die and let him live one more day.
Okay, so again, this is like I am like utilitarian like vibes, right? So if you can tell me that like old man is going to die one day after, right? Like he leaves the hospital and his complications kill him regardless. Then at that point, I would say that man is almost dead anyway. And like I would say like it compared to say like 10 years of maybe like living a decent life, like into his 70s and 80s. What's the average lifespan of an American person, right? Like if they're talking say like 1 day alive left versus say 7 years alive left. I would say that those are like that fundamentally changes like the situation, right? Because if we're essentially like, oh, we're gonna like let someone again, like because we have to weigh all the things, right?
So you're saying that just because you're saying a lot, so I think I understand what you're saying. You're saying there is a quality of life modifier that would supersede your principle over punishing someone for their decision not to be vaccinated.
Basically, yeah, because they're all factors. Like everything is a factor, right?
Well, earlier you were acting as if it wasn't a factor, so I had to present you with something to try and push you to understand that there is a factor.
I got you, yeah. And like again, like if we're talking say the old man living for 10 years, like relatively happily, versus say 1 day after like and yeah, then yeah, at that point you're asking like do we save one person or do we save like nobody, right? Like yeah, sure, yeah, of course.
So okay.
Whoa, that old man is a nobody? Whoa.
I would continue, but it's too many people. Yeah.
24 hours is a lot of time for an old man.
I mean, I think we've hit this hypothetical hard. Holy crap. And there was literally a lot to this question. There's a lot to this question. We're not going to be able to get to all of it. But that's fine. Okay. So we can go back to the Herman Cain Wars itself. Go back to that.
Ableism alert? What happened?
But,
ageism. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I wanted to ask Destiny a question on that.
Okay, go ahead.
Destiny, you said you're okay with, in private, these things being like kind of laughed at, but we understand that this is how movements fester, such as the Reddit or whatever we're talking about right now, right? There's a whole bunch of anonymous or unknown people who have now collectivized, and even though they aren't a streamer or a president or whatever.
I wouldn't count that as private. Just because you're anonymous, that doesn't make the conversation private. Hey, guess what, guys? I'm posting on Twitter under a fucking pseudonym or a random name. That means it's a private conversation. But okay.
Content creator, that their influence has now created a meme on Reddit, which is probably viewed a lot, right? Do you take that into account at all, or solely because they are individuals is still okay?
I mean, like, it's unfathomable to me that people wouldn't be making fun of people that are just like so obviously like asking to be made fun of.
I'm not saying that I'm not asking will they do it. I'm asking do you like your intro statement seemed to be that you think it's an okay thing. Not
I mean,
that
like,
when
I say like it's an okay thing, I mean, it's neutral. It like provides some level of entertainment for an individual. I mean, like this is always going to happen. Like this will always be the case that when somebody does something that's so obviously self-destructive and then wrought that self-destruction upon themselves while simultaneously making fun of other people for avoiding the self-destructive behavior, like. I mean, to some extent, people are going to laugh at them for it. But I mean, people, like, there's tons of other behaviors that this applies to as well. People might make fun of you for drunk driving and getting in an accident. People might make fun of you for, like, a number of things. Like, there's probably some level of social utility to, like, bullying or making fun of people that do really stupid self-destructive things to discourage it from happening. Yeah, I don't know.
Is there any relation between laughing at someone in private versus like something else, like saying like another word in private? Is there a difference between those two in terms of the utility? If you say that you do it in private on a public platform, that was a joke. I'm not trying to start Edward discourse again. Like,
hey, but that's really quickly. Let me ask you this though. Like, because you're saying that you think it's okay, like, for people to do kind of. Okay. There's a very big difference between the idea that something would be okay if someone did something, as opposed to like whether or not something should be done, right? And I think like whether or not something's ethical, whether or not something's like a good thing to do.
I said it was morally neutral.
Like you can recognize, like, I've heard you say that like you're personally like that you felt personally affected by like some of the disinformation and stuff like that because of the fact that your mom refused to get vaccinated. If God forbid, like your mother was to pass
absolutely, yeah, if you're trying to get me on this, I would absolutely like.
You feel like it would be okay if people laughed, you wouldn't be bothered at all by that?
Yeah, 1,000,000%, of course. I mean, like, but it is what it is. But like, that's a weird personal question. Even if I said that I personally wouldn't like it, it still wouldn't be like that would be my societal prescription. Like, for instance, like, should we make fun of people that drunk drive and get in accidents and die or whatever? I mean, like, maybe not. Maybe we could. Maybe, I mean, it depends. But like, but then if you ask me, like, well, what if your son did that? Like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm so personally affected.
You're iffy on drunk driving, but not on unvaccinated people dying. That's interesting. Where does that line come?
No. Hold on. I'm not saying I'm iffy on that. I'm saying it's probably okay to make fun of people that like drunk drive and then get an accident.
You said maybe, maybe not, but then
but I'm saying that like I personally would probably feel different if it was somebody really close to me, but that wouldn't change like my overall like
so
technically nobody wants to be made fun of for anything. Like I could turn that argument around and say we shouldn't make fun of anybody.
So Destiny agrees that we should be making fun of people, or sorry, that it's okay, not that we should be, that it's okay to make fun of people that are anti-vax and then die from COVID in public, or is it just in private? Because there's been a lot of talk about private.
For literally anything ever, because if I personally did it or my mom or dad did it, I want anybody making fun of them. So I don't think it really logically follows.
Well, no, I think. Well, the reason why I brought that up, I mean, I guess
with your energy, I did. Strange one. I did give him that meme.
Right, like doing to others, you'd have them doing to you, and so on and so forth. So, like, the idea is for me
in private.
I
okay. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Then. If she made that decision, my mother would get vaccinated. She's medically incapable. But like, if someone was to laugh at my mother and she made the decision not to, or like, I don't know, a cousin of mine that's an anti-vaxxer, I would feel pretty bad about that. Like in general, I think it's an awful thing to do, and so because of that, like, I'm always incredibly torn at the idea of doing something. A lot of times, my moral prescription is going to be simply, would I like this done to me? Like 90% of the time, I think that's like the overarching idea. So when I'm like trying to get you to personalize it, it's because I'm trying to get you to understand that I was right, and I'm pretty sure everyone, it's pretty obvious. Yeah, you would probably hate if everyone was doing that to your mom. So in the same sense, you should probably have the same attitude if people are doing it to other people's mom, because people that are dying are brother and sister like in the freaking country. Like these are actual citizens. Sure. Someone's mom. They're leaving kids behind.
Should we not like make fun of people that are racist?
I think making fun of them is I don't know.
So do you see the problem now? Like, so like, I can literally run this back to an infinite number of things, and basically, the argument at the end of the day is we just shouldn't make fun of anybody for anything ever, because somebody personally close to us could maybe also do this.
But hold on, I didn't answer your question. I had to think about it. It was like literally given to me right now. So then the idea is like, what do you mean by making, like, if I'm just like teasing like someone for being like ridiculous, like saying something?
Let's say if they died from it. What if someone was so racist that they like got like say like X minority to kill them? Like, are we allowed to make fun of them then? Like, is making fun of someone's bad? Like,
we don't need to.
So I'm sorry, I'm not just to answer your question really quickly. Yes, I would say like the idea of like making fun of a racist person, I think is, I can see as making fun of that person and not being a problem. Now, if the racist person, I think there's a difference between just like making fun of like the actions of an individual and like teasing them, and then like laughing and relishing in the fact that they died. That's a total.
We're drawing like a pretty crazy level of nuance here. Like,
I mean, it's a matter of how much agency someone has in making the decision, right? Like, for example,
can I just ask you guys really quickly?
For one thing. So, like, for an example, like there was the crazy British dude who flew to Afghanistan in like the last week before U.S. troops withdrew, and he was trapped in the country and under the threat, like constant threat of like dying, right? And a lot of people were laughing at him. He was laughing at himself. He even asked that people would like make a video of him saying, "I hope I'm okay," if he doesn't make it, right? So like in that case, this guy literally had the agency to fly to Afghanistan before U.S. troops withdrew, and then put himself in a high-risk situation where he was about to get blown up, shot, etc., etc. And that situation.
Can you argue with me that you don't believe in free will? Did that guy really have the agency?
I think he had the agency. Absolutely, he paid for the flight, right? But in the case of folks who aren't vaccinated,
he was misinformed that Afghanistan was very nice that time of year. You know, we can't blame him for those decisions.
He's decided to roll the dice.
He's a victim of
society. He made a really bad decision, right? In the case of folks who didn't vaccinate, they are currently being attacked.
I don't know what the fuck that second word is there, Glue. But yeah, I think you can like point out the hypocrisy or the like, hey, look, I told you so thing is like what somebody said earlier. I think you could point that out without making fun of somebody. It's like somebody dies who's an anti-vaxxer, and we usually, we told you this was going to happen, right? I'm not going to shed a tear for you, right? Like, at all. We told you this shit was going to happen. You should have gotten vaxxed, all right? Hopefully you'll serve as a lesson so way other people know to get fucking vaccinated in the future or whatever. But like, just know that your death was your own damn fault. You can't blame anybody else for that shit, right? Something like that, right? Obviously, it's going to be case by case. It might not necessarily be true. Access to information is definitely a thing. Whatever, right? Bullshit. Inner fucking bullshit qualifiers here. Yeah, like, who cares? Who cares? If I say that shit, what the fuck? Yeah. There's that between, haha, you fucking died, get fucked, nerd, L nerd, haha. Like, there's a difference.
through targeted media, right? They log into Facebook, they see all this anti-vax stuff. They are being told from sources they trust, and I know it's a bad choice to trust these sources, but they've been worked into it, right? That vaccination is bad, this is bad, this is bad, and they're getting lots of examples of. And despite the fact they're getting lots of examples of people who share their beliefs dying in several ways, they're also getting examples of people who share their beliefs surviving. Donald Trump and the governor of Texas.
That's exactly the main underlying point. Is that the thing is, when in this case, like I do view these people as victims. Like my original opening was specifically about the disinformation, the polarization of our freaking of our politics, and obviously like the unfairness and disgustingness of the algorithms, literally like exacerbating all of this other tension and all of these conditions, creating this environment in which these people are so distrustful of the media that they don't know how to find and parse actual sources. And then you couple that with the like busyness of people working jobs and like having to support families and all these things, and have their inability to actually read through all the information. Like it creates an environment where
read
people
through all the information, like a Webster's
journalism or their investigation to whoever like their favorite
Merriam-Webster's,
pundit is, because they know that they don't have the actual time to like delve into discovering all the information and like reading through it. So then as a result of all of this, there are all these people who have been inundated with this nonsensical misinformation, and then they use that stuff and they're sharing it and they're spouting it, because you have an entire left media and like just the leftists in general who are literally outwardly attacking these individuals because of their lack of information. So
no, I mostly agree. I mostly agree.
But I actually care about people berating these people. Then it makes all of the sense why they would be this.
Now, there's a really specific reason why I'm talking about this, though. There's like one more thing. The next level is, okay, so we've got people who don't have the time, don't have the energy, their livelihoods prevent them from being well researched. And then we have individuals who are pushing the misinformation, pushing and making a career off of it, getting paid to present the misinformation, right? Now, the question is, those individuals have agency to choose how they're going to make their money.
Yeah.
So the question is,
wait, what about people who like don't make money? What about the people who like just share like the anti-vax memes? Like, do we hold them accountable?
Those are the people that we're talking about. Like, if you're like a Tucker Carlson or a Candace Owens, right, and you're like literally intentionally, because I think Candace Owens is particularly intelligent. I think she's just grifting. If she's intentionally doing this, then now at this point, it's like, yeah, I feel like I'm not going to be reveling in the fact that you're dead, but I'm going to recognize like the positive benefit of the loss of tokenization, the loss of like somebody that's spreading this misinformation and all those things. But I still don't think I would laugh at the fact that they died. But I would say there's a benefit there. The difference is for all these other people that we're talking about, like the vast majority of people, like on the Herman Cain Award, I spent a considerable amount of time there. The majority of the people there are not people of like considerable means or or that are in positions of being political pundits. They're just random mothers and fathers that are just finding this misinformation and sharing it on their platform like old people do. So then in this case, it's like, yo, I don't look at this guy. Yes, he's doing something harmful, but there's a difference in intentionality and a difference in awareness and difference in even ability to get aware. Like people work regular 10-hour jobs. How are they going to freaking come home, after needing 8 hours of sleep, and you've got 6 hours, and you're going to spend all that just trying to research like the nuance of like the application of the.
Wait, hold on. Just to be clear, just to be a little bit more honest about this, people aren't making fun of them just for sharing misinformation. Usually, they're making fun of them for being incredibly smug about it. That's why it's the like.
Sure.
Well, that and I think there's another punchline though.
I'm saying that undermines a lot of like, oh, you don't have the time to research. Okay, well, if you don't, then you probably shouldn't be ultra smug posting about something that you yourself don't have the time to research.
Well, sure, but there would also say a reaction. Like if you have like that's what I was going into with all the leftists and the way they react to these people, we see it. Like we see the Herman Cain Awards and look at the comments in them. Not just the video, not just the slideshow itself, but the comments in there where people are like, yep, good riddance, People literally were going and finding, because originally they weren't bleeping out some of the like names and stuff. People were literally going there to the people's actual Facebook posts and mocking their death in their timelines. Imagine what that looks like to your family. And when you're a person that's at the other end of that, before you even die, when you're at the other end where people are calling you second-class citizen, literally recommending for you to die in whatever, like we had in this panel, when you have all of these things where all these people are berating them on a constant basis for their lack of information, now their fight or flight is already activated. Now they feel particularly defensive. Now they actually like don't want to give in. Like now it's like, man, even if I do start feeling slightly like, man, y'all niggas might be right, it's like I don't want to give you the satisfaction of changing my mind. Now I'm so bolstered into this opinion that I'm unwilling to do it.
Yeah, who the fuck cares though? The problem is who cares? These people are contributing harm. Like
sure,
I have to understand.
No.
Your argument is just saying that every single person should be nice to everybody all the time.
No,
because I can run this same argument. I can run this same argument back for literally any other thing where a person makes a choice.
You tried with racism earlier and it failed.
It didn't fail. Like everything every single thing that you're saying now, I could argue literally translates 1-to-1 to that white moderate comment that Martin Luther King makes. The idea that like you're making the argument that some people say he argued against. The idea is like, oh, well, we need to be patient with these people. We need to be nice to these people. We need to be chill, right? And then I could literally counter and say it's not fair that you put a timetable on somebody else's life because somebody doesn't want to get vaccinated because they have their own crazy preconceived notions or opinions. You can literally I can do 1-to-1 with this, or we can run it back with any other type of thing, right? It absolutely does go 1-to-1. The problem is that like you can say at the end of the day, oh, they're just sharing things, oh, they're misinformed. That's fine. They're also contributing very real material harms into the world. There are people that might see this.
Are they doing it purposely?
Doesn't matter. Who the fuck cares? People didn't hold slaves purposely because they thought that like black people were evil. They might have had just some dumb fucking ideas about like, well, who deserves to be a person, right? Plenty of people do something. Some people do. I'm doing the Vatican where I just repeat the same words. Some people do. Okay, cool. So some people do a lot of harm and they're not doing it intentionally, right? There are people that like make fun of gay people and they use bad slurs and all this shit. They're not necessarily being intentional about it. We never look at harms and say whether or not we never look at.
You mean like intentionally spreading misinformation or not getting vaxxed? Like that feels pretty intentional.
We never look at a harm and say was it intentional or not to figure out if somebody has a right to be harmed.
We have a difference between manslaughter and murder. That's literally the difference between these two can literally be intention, right? We use intention to determine.
Whoa, no. Whoa.
We use intention to determine degrees of murder, right? We can say first degree, second degree, third degree, and varying by state, depending on intentionality.
You just make one point. You don't have to expand on it 50 million times. This is
You made your stupid racist point.
Okay, you could have said. Listen, okay, you're doing it again. Okay, all you had to say, listen. Okay.
When you make a stupid statement about a racist person, I immediately wanted to counter that, and then you just repeat that, and I recognize you're right.
Holy shit.
You're just describing the debate that used to happen while I was trying to do the debate.
Wrap it up.
Dude, you're still going. Holy shit. I know what your point is. You said it.
Wrap it up, dude.
And then I will stop going. When you make a stupid racist statement about like, oh yeah, like, well, what if a racist person was doing something just because, they weren't intentional? I don't know how you...
Yeah, they were raised in a bad environment. They were raised like in Southern racism. Is it their fault? Like, I grew up, like, my parents were members of the KKK. Like, am I responsible?
Oh my God, shut up. I'm not going to finish this, so Destiny, respond.
I don't know how a person could intentionally own a person and unintentionally. I don't know how to...
Someone could intentionally spread misinformation so smugly.
Furthermore, I would say that we would look at, like, in this case, we look at the underlying principles that are causing the misinformation, which I felt like I did a really good job of laying out. And then if we have those, we should be able to look at that and then say, this is why this person is a victim. I don't know what kind of misinformation you would be needed in order to be able to look at another human being who literally has all the exact same features as you and still see them as less than human. That sounds like that's intentional at that point.
It's just upbringing that you're talking about.
Okay, Destiny, he has concluded. You may respond.
Hey, all I was going to say is that, like, the only thing you had to say was that, like, oh, well, there is a difference. There's a difference between, for instance, manslaughter and first-degree murder, okay? But my initial thing that's all you had to say, but instead you give like 50 million times expanding on it. I don't know why you would do that. I don't know why you do this, because you think it makes your argument strong. But my response is that what I was saying is that we don't look at intentions to figure out if somebody felt like they suffered a harm. And then you countered by saying, well, actually, we do look at intentions. But when you talk about the difference between first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and manslaughter, that actually is the exact same harm every time. The same harm as if somebody died. You're talking about looking at a difference in how you would punish somebody. How you punish somebody is not the same thing as whether or not that person suffered a different harm. It doesn't matter what the intention of a person is that kills you, whether they run you over intentionally or just accidentally manslaughter you. You're still dead.
Yeah, you didn't say we use intention to determine whether or not someone suffered a harm.
I literally, that is almost verbatim what I said.
No, that is what he said.
You don't have to, wait. You don't have to look for a clip to try to win a debate.
I'm doing it for my own basis, because I feel like you're doing the thing, whatever, I don't have to go into why I'm doing it. I want to do it for my own reason.
Nikki debate tactics. He's breaking out the pizza.
What I literally said earlier, and I gave examples, I'm just saying that, like, whether or not someone has suffered a harm, we don't look at the intentionality of the person harming them. A good example is in gaming communities when we would say the F's all the time. Like, sure, all defense might use that. We're not being intentional, right? But that's not a good argument.
Sure, we don't use the intention to determine whether or not a person has been harmed. We use the intention to determine how we would punish the individual who issued said harm. So there you go. I don't have to go.
Yeah, but we're not talking about punishment here.
We're literally talking about making fun of someone that's dying and whether or not.
No, hold on.
Making fun of a dead person isn't a punishment for the dead person.
More punishment. We're talking about
determining. Use a different word. I don't know if this is the dictionary definition of punishment. I'm not sure if I can use it.
We're talking about. Oh my God, Jesus Christ! This is why I fucking hate this guy.
And their intention.
You're a Destiny. You don't have to play the piano anymore.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, the reason why we got into this is because we talked about how sharing misinformation online can be harmful. And then I think Gambit was the one that said, well, are they doing it intentionally? And then I countered with whether they're intentional or not in sharing that harm, they're still causing a harm. And then you brought up the manslaughter for everything. I don't know why it always takes. I understand, but I'm just saying, like, every time Fnatic starts to argue, it takes like 15 minutes to get through like a 20-second point. Holy shit.
I'll tell you why. It's because when I start talking, I intend to speak for probably 10 seconds, and then people interrupt me, and then I have to hit the Fnatic Riley freaking repeat tech for God knows how long, but I'm waiting for everyone to shut up so I can finish my point. That's why I don't do
shit.
So Fnatic, you mentioned like slavery. You brought this up as like an example of something that someone might do that would cause harm. And well, sure. But Fnatic, you're telling me that you can understand someone being raised in an environment where they're taught to see another human being as subhuman, right? And so they grow up thinking this way. This other person is subhuman because they look this way. So by the time they hit adulthood and they're purchasing slaves, they don't see this as a person. They see.
You're not going to get vindication for slave masters.
No one's asking for vindication, right? We would still stop. We would still say this person is doing a bad thing. This person is a shitty person. They should be shamed. They should be mocked. They should be punished if we can punish them. Right? It doesn't matter that they're not intentionally hurting another person because they don't think this is a person, right? So we can throw the intention out the window.
I disagree with that. I would look at the person. Yes, absolutely. I would look at the person who was raised and like taught this, and I would look at them and I would say, you had to override literally every sense you had. Everything in you.
Bullshit.
Hell, they're half of the time they're the same stature as you are. The only difference between these individuals.
Wait, did he give the same consideration to Lauren Southern? Did he give the same consideration to all of these people that he's disagreed with that happen to be white? Bullshit.
The same number of teeth. All of the identifying factors that make you a Homo sapien are identical in some sort of way.
And half the media apparatus tells you they're not a person. There's a lot of misinformation.
In some sort of way, you found a way to ignore literally every piece of information you had, which clearly indicated they were human, to come to the conclusion that they weren't. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't give you that pass.
Oh, wait, what? Wait. Okay, wait. He started this statement differently. Wait, so he's trying to say you ignored all of the information saying that they were human before? Does he realize the definition of human literally didn't include black people like before? They were not like, they were seen as like a separate, and that's why race was created. Does he not realize that? That the leading scientific community were like, yeah, these aren't people. These aren't people. Like your best resources were like, yeah, these aren't people. These are a separate group. It's not like you could read the fucking, like you can right now with the vaccine, read any academic and be like, yeah, by the way, the vaccine's pretty pog. No, this is not how it worked. It's not like, oh yeah, by the way, all of academia agrees black people are people too.
That seems, I don't want to say, I don't think you're being dishonest, but I think that if you're going to be the sympathetic, right, to COVID, like anti-vaxxers, whatever.
What's the limit of intentionality? That's a legitimate question.
Attempt to put yourself in the shoes of a young boy growing up in the South who's surrounded by media, surrounded by newspapers, surrounded by preachers and mentors and parental figures. They're all telling you these people.
Race was a scientific thing at the time. Do they not realize the history of race? Unironically, is Fanatic not actually understand the history of race? Like, it wasn't just religious people, it was scientists as well. Where does he think the fucking skull measuring came from? Does he think that was a religious practice? Like, what? Yeah, phrenology? Like, did he think that was a religious thing? You did that at Mass? You skull measured people at fucking Mass? What? Like, no, they attempted to justify it by warping, like, science in what they considered to be scientific observations to fit their narrative. The fuck?
Well, these farm animals are beasts because they're black, and they're that way because God punished them, and they're below you like your fucking donkeys for your entire fucking life. Right? And you're telling me that you couldn't see a situation where that person would grow up to think that this black person is subhuman? Of course they would. Okay, and they did. We have evidence that these people genuinely thought of black people as subhuman because they grew up in this environment.
Okay. Does
that remove the damage they did? No. Does it remove the fact that we punish them if we could? That we like more like castigate them? We shame them? No, of course not.
So the difference between these two things, number one, is obviously, again, like what you just said had literally nothing to do with all of the objections that I brought up. One, again, we didn't have any abortion conversation. I specifically mentioned that typically we tend to extend rights to the things the more similar they are to us, which is why, like, if you look at like I said, people get very sympathetic about things like dolphins because they exhibit so much intelligence, right? Or apes, right? Because they exhibit so much intelligence. The more self-aware something is, the more conscious we view it, the more it resembles us, the more we have sympathy towards it. It's just like biologically embedded.
Well, I don't know if that's true. What? We extend way more sympathy to dogs than we do apes. And dogs are fucking way different than us. But apes are literally as close as it gets to us. I don't know about this one.
So there was so much like
which is bullshit. I don't disagree.
As I said, like all of the other
apes are fucking cool misinformation. They'll kill you, but they're cool.
Features that were literally visible to our eyeballs.
Is that my Discord?
They had to override all of that.
Hello?
Literally everything they could see that clearly demonstrated it in order to arrive at this false conclusion that these things were beasts. In order to be able to do that, like that sounds like you're intentionally being dishonest at that point. So yes, I'm sorry. That's why I would not be able to give him the difference between this, and I know I do. So shut up.
I love you. I love you.
I know. I love me too. And the difference between this and COVID is that
how could he justify apes being in cages then? I don't know.
Regarding the COVID stuff, right? Those things are not the same thing.
You're telling me that like in like the pre-Civil War South that like there wasn't an absolute collage of misinformation, indoctrination, and all sorts of stuff that were absolutely like.
Hans, you didn't listen.
Okay, no. I will. No, wait, one second. I let him go. I let him go. I was nice. I made like.
I don't think you're gonna make any progress here, but Hans, everything you're saying is absolutely correct. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I know.
But
I'm here to meet.
Let me try to retard. I think what's being said is if you have the faculties.
No, wait. We don't need to reset it. We understand what's being said. The argument is that like all the tools were available to you in the 1600s, 1500s.
Now you're gonna reset it.
Yeah, I'm just resetting right now. All the tools were available. In the,
I can reset it. I'm going to reset it, okay?
I can reset this in 10 seconds without having to do a 20-minute explanation with 53 people, okay? All you're saying is that all the tools were available to every single person in the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s to not be racist. That's what you're saying. That's a stupid fucking argument. That's all we're saying. And now we move on. We don't have to agree on that. Boom.
Yeah, and if that is your argument, they have the internet. All these anti-vaxxers have the internet. They have medical professionals all over the fucking world.
Yeah.
And so if that's your argument, then.
I love it.
Yeah, honestly, if your argument is that the people were dumb about slavery and they should have known better, to even say, like, at that point, you are making the largest Herman Cain Award, like, argument I've ever seen in my entire life. At that point, like, the fact that you don't realize, like, the idea of being uninformed about Corona doesn't exist. It's not possible. If you believe that it was so obvious that black people were human in the fucking 1600s to anybody, including the person growing up being told otherwise and shit like that, and all the evidence was right in front of your eyes, and it was all incredibly well established and available to you, you could never make the argument that somebody could be willfully or ignorant of the coronavirus vaccine. You just couldn't. You couldn't make that argument because, like, Jesus Christ, man. Holy fucking shit. How little information was available about, like, black people, like, being like, hey, you know what? Maybe black people aren't subhuman in comparison to going to any grocery store and having 1,500 fucking posters of get vaccinated. Here's a fucking pamphlet on how to get vaccinated. Go to any.gov. By the way, here's some information on the vaccinations and how they're safe. Go, literally look on YouTube at all, see a million CNN, fucking MSNBC fucking shits talking about the vaccine and how safe it is. Fucking YouTubers talking about the vaccine and how safe it is. All the people talking about the vaccine and the fact that you scroll down that really fucking annoying link on YouTube where you scroll down and then it's just right there and you click on it, it sends you to the, like, Wikipedia page or whatever. Like, listen, and it's probably good that it's there. It's just really fucking annoying because I constantly accidentally click on it, man. Like, nah. This is, dude, he's such a fucking idiot.
Full circle. Do you remember the
What circle are you drawing?
Do you remember the initial things that I said specifically about people not having time?
No, but I assume you're gonna tell us all again.
Shut up, Alex. Not having time. So, like I said, it wouldn't take that long if you would just shut up. Not having access to actually being able to read all the information, being able to parse all the data, and literally being targeted with misinformation from authority figures. So there's a very big difference here. They don't.
I think Fanatic's just phobic of being wrong. I think he's often wrong, and he's just really afraid of being wrong, and that's why you get. I truly don't believe he believes in this position.
Actually having access to information, but all of these racist people,
only just started?
they had their
No
eyes.
way.
They could see all of the identifiable features that clearly indicated black people were human. There's a difference here. That's the disconnect.
Okay, but all those identifiable features that you're talking about were also indications that these people were not human, i.e., the different hair, the skin color, the fact they couldn't read and they could barely speak. Right? Like they were treated as like farm animals. Right? They were dehumanized intentionally by the entire fucking society these people grew up in. Like, what are you saying?
I just want to say, I think it's so fucking funny. The idea that, like, people in the 1600s had enough information to not be racist, but people today don't have enough information to know vaccine works.
Exactly. Thank you, Destiny. Holy shit, that when you go to a fucking grocery store, you have 16 different pamphlets, but there's enough information to me to go like, you know what? This individual with, like, different skin color, different hair, that's treated differently by every single individual in my community, including the academic community and the religious community that I literally jerk off to every fucking day to my pastor. Well, yes, you see, I'm critically thinking, and I understand that this person has equivalent moral value to me. Like, but that's so easy, but literally looking at the barrage of information when you go to the grocery store is so incredibly hard. Oh my God, these poor discriminated people. Oh, might I have to read a pamphlet? Oh my God. Like, dude, fuck, spare me. Dude, get him out of the call. Get him out of the call, dude. Get him out of the fucking call.
I don't know, buddy. This feels like a really big leap.
I don't know why we're all interrupting.
The level of responsibility is just so much lower for the people.
Wait, seriously. Hans and Destiny, are you seriously, like, intentionally interrupting Fanatic?
It's not really just a matter of
fucking funny. But, like, okay, but actually, though, please just respond to the simple question. I'll let you talk. I promise. I'll fucking mute myself. You're not going to get let me ask this one question. This one more time. Like, I love you. Let me love you. Okay, so, like, specifically, please keep going.
There's no amount of pleading. I'm not going to concede here. The difference between these two. Obviously, we're talking about a capacity, right? And when you recognize that they had all of these laws specifically outlawing teaching them to read. So it wasn't just that they couldn't read, or it wasn't that they were incapable necessarily, or they didn't have the capacity. You literally made it impossible for it to do so. And then now you're literally trying to say, well, because they treated them differently, you're trying to justify that they were treated like animals, therefore they were animals. What I'm saying is they had all of the indicators that clearly
they were treated like animals, so people are going to think that it's justified because they are animals. That's what people will think. If you treat a group of people like animals, other people are going to think that it is justified that to treat those people like animals because they are animals. That's what people are going to think. That's the first thing that, like, everybody else treats this person like trash. Therefore, they must be worthy of being treated like trash. That's how it works. Yes.
That they weren't and decided to treat them like that anyway. Like, you're almost like jumping the gun here.
I mean, they also had medical professionals and scientists measuring skulls to say that how they were closer to apes and humans. Like,
why didn't they just use their ingenuity, Dooby? Like, to find out, like...
No! Just stick on the phrenology, dude! The academic community were actively, like, fucking pushing back against, like, black people being seen, or sorry, bullshit academics. There was few pretty, like, skeptics and shit of the old ways, right? You had members of the academic community and well-regarded with, like, the government fucking saying that these people were not human, all right? In comparison to Corona, there's, like, no academic at all that's like fucking, yeah, the vaccine is like absolute fucking garbage, okay? I say that, obviously I'm being a bit dramatic. The ones that say that the vaccine is absolute garbage are hacks. You know, I'll just call it that. So yeah, there you go.
All the scientists were wrong. Why is
They're,
everyone?
they're like 1 in a
Hold on,
million.
hold on. I have a better question. Hans being a fucking troll. Let me ask the real question.
Sorry.
Can you bring up a dictionary in the year 1600 to see how they define you?
Sure. So, I could, and I bet you a black people fall underneath it. We could probably look up the etymology of the word of human and find out that black people obviously qualify. It wasn't like they were treated as subhuman in literally every part of the world. So anyway, my point being, like what you just pointed out, like, and the other thing you pointed out was a whole bunch of other distinctions, right? Like, oh, they had different hair color, they had different skin color, they had different, all these other things. But we saw those same things, like Hispanics. We saw differences in Asians. We see all of these differences, and despite all these differences, for every other person, they could still see them as human, right? No one else was fighting for, like, no one else had a 3/5 compromise, right? So, like, the idea is they did know that they were human, just like they knew everyone else was, pointing out that there were some observable differences that would not be the human characteristics, such as the number of organs, the number of toes, the number of fingers, the teeth, like so on and so forth, the presence of air, 2 eyes, and so on and so forth. All of the observable features were very clear.
I love
of the
that,
fact that
that we could have solved racism 200 years ago just by people like being not racist and like just plus altering harder. Like,
Again, Fanatic. And again, Fanatic.
No, Fanatic is making a better argument. He's saying they just needed to count the fingers and toes. But maybe the lack of education at the time meant people couldn't get all the way up to 20, and that's why they didn't know black people weren't human.
Okay, but Fanatic.
Why didn't they have access to the feet?
Guys, wait, okay, but Fanatic. Again, so if you're saying that they had access to this, right? This was in front of their eyes. They could have seen these people. They could have empathized with them as humans. They could have known whatever. Well, okay, sure. But if that's the argument you're making, all these anti-vaxxers have access to the internet. Whether you don't need fucking to devote an entire day to
the internet has
Googling
conflicting
Googling
information
vaccines.
that they're listening to, right? That's the problem.
Oh my god!
Potentially targeting them with misinformation.
The internet has conflicting information on the efficacy of the coronavirus vaccine, but the fucking 1600 South doesn't have conflicting information on whether or not black people are human, dude. You can't make this shit up, dude. Oh my god, dude. I don't know how these people's brains are melting, dude. Oh my god.
Because the pundits.
But now misinformation matters. Not the misinformation they were getting back then. Like, what do you?
The difference is, Dooby, they couldn't have gotten misinformation from their own eyeballs. You saw a man. You saw a baby. You saw they had the exact same gestational process. You saw the 10 fingers. I mean,
They also used their eyeballs to
you
repent
saw
about how
all
they
of
were
these other
subhuman.
features.
Like,
That's the difference. You cannot equate these two things because one of them, you had your own eyeballs and your direct senses that were directly communicating to you, right? And the other thing is, and the other thing, and the other thing is you're asking them to parse through information where they're required to do research. They're not the same thing.
Well, wait, can I just ask one question? I'm so curious. So you genuinely believe that it was... No, this is just fascinating to me. You genuinely believe that in the year 1600, it was easier to not be racist than in the year 2021 it is to find out that vaccines are safe and effective?
I'm not... Wait, what do you mean easier to not be racist? What do you mean?
Come on, parse that.
Yeah, that is what you just said.
That is exactly what you said.
What I'm saying is...
It's going to take 5 minutes to rephrase this, even though it's a super easy question.
Sure. I don't know. I don't know how that directly relates to anything I said.
Are you serious? It's literally everything you just said. Wait, how is this so difficult for you? Are you actually serious? Have you not listened to yourself talk for the last 35 fucking minutes?
I've listened very obviously, and I spoke with an intention. If you're going to ask a question that sounds like a complete digression, or at least not directly related to what I'm saying, then I have to try to understand what you're getting at.
You want me to
You're saying that they're not analogous. You're saying that they are. Like, how do you not understand it?
I don't understand. I'm not saying it's easy for anyone not to be racist. What I'm saying is...
Which is harder.
What I'm saying is that they had literally all of the indicators to be able to recognize that black people were human and chose to overlook all of those things. What
Wasn't real? It was just their opinions.
I would not say the exact
looking a bit sus
of information regarding COVID. Like, one is you're literally just by existing, you will see them when you just interact in society. You will see the human being. The other one is information and do research. They're not the same thing.
Oh man. Okay, so let me ask again then. Are you saying that it was easier in the year 1600 look around and observe and not be racist than it is in the year 2021 to find out that vaccines are safe and effective?
I'm saying it would be easier in 1600s to recognize that black people were humans than it would. Yes, it would be easy to recognize.
The answer is
yes. Okay.
Oh my! Wait,
that's all I
what?
wanted.
I'm saying it would be
not be racist than it is in the year 2021 to find out that vaccines are safe and effective.
I'm saying it would be easier in the 1600s to recognize that black people were humans.
Oh my god!
Yes, it would be easy to
That
recognize.
is
Yes.
crazy. Wait, look at Hans. He got Hans doing a one-armed push-ups. Actually, that's pretty impressive for a power lifter. Honestly, that's really impressive for a power lifter. Usually, you don't see power lifters doing like calisthenics and stuff that might allow them to do that.
In 1600s to recognize that black people were humans.
Nice. He's really getting it too. He's
Yes,
really getting
Yes,
in
okay.
there.
That's all I wanted. That's very funny to me. Thank you. Okay.
Wait.
You got Hans doing the memes, man. What is this? Guys, the leaks on how much streamers make isn't real. I make way more than that. I'm not number 42. I won't believe it, and I implore you to not believe it either. I swear, I'm one of the richest ones on the platform. I literally made Among Us. I won't believe it. Nice meme.
I didn't know Dooby had a close up. I didn't know Dooby had a close up as VTube. Like,
Okay, yeah. So, Fanatic, why do you think that? Just like quickly, because I mean, because the entire establishment is against you. I guess you like this from the perspective of your ordinary white individual, right? The entire establishment is against you. Society is telling you that these people are, these individuals are of a different class, right? A class that's below you. So not only do you have everyone saying that, they're confirming something that makes you feel good, right? Makes you feel good about yourself, that I am better, right? That's why that part at least is definitely continued on to the future because people love that superiority complex. So, so people have no incentive to even re-examine these things, right? Especially since you can make money off of it. So then, why is it easier then than the vaccine now?
Okay, so
This
Please,
why
shut the fuck up for what dude. I'm sorry. This one, he's just got to let him talk. Let him answer that one. He has to let him answer.
This is why. Guys.
We all owe highly generous apologies. Really should have brought them together.
So this is why I feel like it's so important to make sure that you frame the questions properly. I think there's an obvious difference between the idea of someone viewing something as black people as human and still being racist. You can be racist and still see black people as human as they do today, right? Like, you know that they're human beings, but you still think that they're beneath you. And so what I was pointing out to Dooby was specifically that they had all of the indications to recognize that these people were human, yet they still tried to define them as not human. There was a literal 3/5 compromise. Those two things are not the same, which is why I kept wanting to rephrase when Destiny was trying to paraphrase incorrectly. Oh, so you're saying it's easy for people not to be racist? No, I'm not saying that they wouldn't be racist. Society created a scenario.
Dooby's fucking thing is so fucking good, dude. This is such a good fucking meme, man.
But they would still probably be racist, but they should have been able to recognize them as humans.
They should have pushed past the misinformation. In the same way I tell my fucking uncle who won't get vaccinated, dude, just fucking log off Facebook. Have you considered trying harder?
Hans, have you considered that in the 1600s you didn't have Facebook memes telling you to be racist? It was a totally different information environment, my dude.
Pamphlets.
I love how you guys completely
Facebook is way stronger.
I like how you guys look. And I'm sorry.
Can I respond to you?
You guys literally ignored everything I said.
Okay, Helen,
you guys literally ignored everything you said. I said to go back to the racist part of it when I clearly indicated they had all of the indicators to recognize they were
I agree. Can I ask you a question though? In the 1600s, if I could show you, if there was evidence that people had pamphlets full of racist memes, would you then agree that those people were in the similar position as the anti-vaxxers of today?
What, regarding viewing black people as human beings?
Yeah, if there were a lot of racist memes, they're a dumb. No. What? So wait. So what is the environment that exists today that makes it impossible for us to say that anti-vaxxers are dumb fucks, but back in the day, racists were dumb fucks? What is the?
I never said anti-vaxxers aren't dumb. What are you talking about? Are you actually engaging, Destiny? Or are you just?
Oh my god.
Clearly,
I'll be honest.
This is so dishonest. What Destiny is clearly. What Destiny is asking is pretty simple. I'm just literally gonna let it go. I don't think there's any point in pausing at this point. I think everybody knows that this guy is a fucking sham of a human being and should never be taken seriously politically. I feel more vindicated. I'm glad I watched this, okay? So everybody can realize why I don't talk to that guy anymore. The reason why I don't talk to Mrfanatiq. He's a fucking moron. He's literally the dumbest person, I think, on Twitch politics. I think Lecture Fan is more intelligent than that man.
Clearly. The thing that I pointed out this entire time was specifically that we're talking about establishing
Mike for Pay is 100% more intelligent than Mrfanatiq. 100%.
These are things that we can understand at a very properly basic level. If you're telling me that people can understand the efficacy of vaccines on a properly basic level, and you're equating that, I clearly don't think that you're truly engaging with what I'm saying, or at least not understanding it, even though I'm very articulate and expressing it very obviously.
You're confusing articulate with verbose, but okay.
I just want to make sure.
Can I respond to your
Mike is a smart grifter? Exactly. Yeah, I think he's a pretty smart grifter.
So I can understand your position. If you're saying that the people.
Hey, we back up.
No, I gotta get close to this. You're saying that the people at the top, right? The people who wrote
Isn't the science behind vaccines fundamentally more complex than just looking at black people and realizing they're people? Well, the thing is, when you make it that simple and easy, it feels easy to us right now on the outside. However, when you have scientists in the 1600s telling you, well, black people have different skull shapes than you. Look at these skull measuring. They have different skull shapes, skull sizes than you. So clearly there's something else going on with the brain, right? So clearly there's something else going on there, right? Look at the way that this skull looks versus this skull looks. Look at their hair. Look at their skin. Look at the difference in how black people have tend to have brighter palms and darker rest of the skin. I don't know what else to call it besides palms and skin, right? Look at these differences. You don't have this, even though you do, it's just not as drastic, right? And stuff like this, right? Those things, and then especially when your parents that have been raising you the entire time have been reinforcing that, yeah, these things mean that they're less intelligent, and shit like that. When all of the black people that you see don't know how to read, some of them don't know how to properly communicate at all, or what have you, right? Yeah, you're gonna reinforce racist stereotypes. And to just address the science behind it, in one instance, I would argue, yes, the science behind the vaccine is more complicated than understanding that somebody looks generally like you. However, I don't think it's that simple, because the science behind race was backed up by many academics. However, the science behind the vaccines being unsafe is not backed up by almost any academic. So, like, you have the whole field of academia on your side, pro-vaccine, in comparison to a way more politically divided academia when it comes to race. Like, phrenology was a thing. Let's not science was not completely on black people's sides. That's just not the case. And now I don't remember, or I don't know the exact scope of academia, but I know it was quite vast. That the government had academics, that universities had academics, literally studying, professors giving courses on phrenology. Like, it's not like it was like one or two people, like Donald Trump getting one or two federal judges or whatever that are like anti-vax or anything like that. It's literally like it was a systemic thing.
For example, right? They knew that these were human beings. Yeah, I might agree with you, right? But what I'm talking about is the average Southern teenager working on the farm, poorly educated, growing up in a society where his parents, his grandparents, his preacher, the local doctor, the guy down the street, everybody is saying, hey, yeah, these look like human. Maybe they might kind of look like you, but these are subhuman. These are animals. If you read publications from the time, they call them beasts, they call them gorillas, they call them feral, they call them all kinds of crazy fucking shit, right? So this person, surrounded by this stuff from birth, like growing up in the society, I really don't understand how you could say it would be easier for them to
what about the women that were banging slaves? They understood that they were human.
Yo, there's places in South Africa that bang donkeys. That's not a good.
Okay, that's true.
No, you can't do that.
But
you
just tell me.
You can't do that because these same
South America, not South Africa.
These same individuals that were banging these slaves were not willing to sleep with their animals. So when you have a case in which people are averse to bestiality, yet still willing to sleep with humans, it sounds like sleep with black slaves. It sounds like logical dissonance here, isn't there?
I feel like the South.
There's no shot he's comparing. Hey, listen, dude. Slave owners raped their slaves, therefore they knew they were human? What the fuck, dude?
Tradition of fucking.
We didn't even consider them fucking slaves. Maybe if they were the slave fucking thing, instead of the 3/5 compromise, it would have been the 4/5 compromise. It seems like a few more points to push them over the
Wait, so Fanatic. Okay, can you understand how someone who grew up in this kind of society?
No, wait. Last bit. Let me one more time. I'll be nice.
Stop. Dooby has got a chance to talk.
Okay, so someone's grown up in this society.
Let's not go wild with like. And people like talking about like people who fuck animals and shit like this, because I feel like it gets into comparisons that maybe Twitch might not be too happy with. But yeah, as like people have talked about, yeah, there are people right now that fuck animals, literal animals. So I don't know, that's really dumb. And he's like, well, these white people didn't fuck other animals, but they fucked black people, so clearly they knew they were human. It's like, dude, this is unreal. Like, I hope everybody knows how like. I don't even know, man. This guy's actually crazy.
Right, where they said, hey, where they're being told these people, right, who might look a little bit like them, right, are actually subhuman. The Bible says so. You know, the preacher says so. The doctor says so. The guy down the street says so. Your parents say so. Your friends say so. The neighbor says so. All these people have been telling this your entire fucking life. You really think that'd be easier for that person to not be a racist and not think black people are subhuman than it would be for someone today to just go on the fucking internet, watch some YouTube videos about COVID?
Man, I feel like I've said this far too many times.
I just don't understand how you're making that leap.
You're re-asking the question
because you won't answer.
I feel like I've answered it.
I don't think Dooby's not engaging in good faith. I think Dooby is actually a bad faith actor right now.
I think Dooby's incredibly good faith. I think you're obvious.
He's not even engaging with what you said though. I think Dooby's just looking for debate bro gotchas.
You're really just annoyed because I sunned you on the freaking different.
I protect you. Dooby's clearly the worst faith person on this panel.
Got you. My vocabulary is better than yours. It's not that big a deal. It's all right.
I put you all in the parking lot asking on you.
I mean, when you spend as much time as you do in the dictionary, when debate.
Put me in a parking lot.
Put your vocabulary dicks on the table. That's what the people came here for. I love it.
Oh, we don't stop there. We can do real dicks too.
I'll put real dicks on the table. We want to go real dicks? I'll put real dicks.
All right. We're taking an opportunity to advertise. I'll do so as well. Hans, all right. What about your piece? Go ahead.
I'm just trying to get.
All right. So it depends on what piece we're talking about. So I think we're completely misrepresenting Fanatic's points and arguments because, like, all the misinformation probably would have been less effective. Like, you can't read Uncle Tom's Cabin if you can't read, and there were so many illiterate people in the South back then that I assume that like it just didn't function. And so like all the misinformation, you just can't read it, so it can't hurt you. It's just like so we should have anti-literacy programs to make sure that we can't listen to it and watch Facebook memes.
True.
I don't know if
fucking wait with the base to take. Turns out Demonmama was right the whole time. Don't mandate schooling. We need illiteracy rates up. Hey, listen, dude. Wait, that makes so much fucking sense, dude. Wait. Dude, that makes so much fucking sense. Why I'm so much smarter than everybody, and I don't know how to use grammar properly or punctuation properly. Dude, that makes so much sense. So the real key to knowledge was illiteracy the whole time. Holy shit. It makes so much sense. Now I know why I'm smarter than everybody. Thanks, Fanatic. our Julie, thank you for the first time sub in your primer.
Level, I would say that,
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's definitely not Julie. It might be Julie, actually.
Divine information about.
A lot of people are doing their own research, buddy. Where's that get us?
In order for people to be able to divine information about the coronavirus sounds absolutely insane, and I think everyone here can see that.
Hey,
to be clear,
Hans, I think hackers are doing a wonderful job at making sure Facebook memes don't get shared. I think hackers are doing a wonderful job today. So
it's like, hey, okay. Bonus hard mode round. Is it harder to spread misinformation in the modern day? Compared to ye olden times, if Facebook is gone, what's the analysis then, Fanatic?
Listen, you guys keep on moving something, right? Because I don't care about you can make.
Well, we remove Facebook for this equation, but
you can make the argument that yes, it'd be easier to spread misinformation back in the day, but that has nothing to do with my argument because my argument, I feel like I should write it out for y'all niggas.
I think it's easier to spread misinformation today. I think that's the argument.
Directly relayed to them that these were humans, and they ignored that. Now you guys can go and start talking about Facebook ads and research if you want to.
I think it's easier to be informed today because you have more access to things, but I also think it's easier to spread misinformation. Vital? I want to say vital, but it's not an I. Thank you for the primer. First time sub. I appreciate that. I always love that. Thank you.
I'm saying that these two things are very different. You can have a completely uneducated or informally educated population, and they can still learn to speak and communicate and all of these things. We see it. How many people are illiterate but still functional? Look at freaking Mayweather. They can't read, but he's still able to function in society, right?
Should we pay someone to read for him?
All right, I'm just gonna.
Wait, yeah, it's because he's fucking rich. Are you an idiot? Oh, look, he's literally doing the illiteracy is not that big. Are you a fucking idiot? As somebody who just a second ago I said, I don't know how to use grammar, punctuation. I don't know why I constantly relate this to grammar. Punctuation. I can't do a whole host of jobs. I can't do any job that requires me to write a report, type out a report. Because people will be, I don't know how the fuck to read this. People just can't read the things that I type. Because it's just one big run-on sentence for 9 pages. People don't know how. I don't know how to where a paragraph goes or period goes or anything like that. And he's like, "Hey, look, Mayweather made it out fine." Maybe it's because he's one of the richest people on planet Earth. What?
To say that it's not a matter of whether people are being perceived as human. We are literally just looking at other individuals and not caring that they're human. The whole point of the Herman Cain Award, for example, is that we've got human beings who are dying, who have influence, agency, whatever, and we're laughing at them because they used all their wealth and power and privilege and everything to just die in a pandemic in a silly manner. So the humanity of the individuals don't matter. It's literally they're a human being, sure, but we're still gonna do horrible things to them and laugh at them and whatever else.
If you don't stop being so bad faith, I'm gonna fucking lose it right now.
That's exactly why the slavery thing was not a good analogy. You just pointed it out.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
Glad we did this. It was a very worthwhile 50 minutes. I am so happy to have been here.
I am also happy. This was so much fun.
All right.